Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
If someone wants to connect with Krishna really fast, do you just say Krishna, Krishna?
Take her name, Radha Krishna. That's why the people who live in Vrindavan are blessed. They say Radhe Radhe all the time.
Can we speak about modern day Vrindavan?
In Vrindavan, there is spots that are called as Rasa Sthali. This is where the Rasa Leela happens every day, and to honor that, the whole place is closed by 7 because Krishna and Radha and the Gopis will come at that time of the night and nobody can see them.
Can you take us from his teenage up till the Mahabharat?
Krishna is an expert strategizer. Krishna uses the Pandavas and the Kauravas as a pretext to wipe the earth clean of all those kings that are living adharmically. He says, those who believe that I am everything, without 1 second break, I will take care of them.
Such a different energy in this part of the podcast.
Right? Even in my body, I can feel.
We don't hear too much about the 36 years post the Mahabharata. Could you give us the surface level story of what happened?
This is mentioned in the Mahabharata itself. What happens is, towards the end of the 18 days, Gandhari comes onto the battlefield.
The mother of the Kauravas.
The mother of the Kauravas. When she's on the battlefield, Krishna is behind her. She turns to Krishna and she says, so I curse you, Krishna. You will die by a hunter's arrow. That is my curse to you. Krishna receives that curse smilingly and he says, Amma, you shouldn't have cursed me. I'll tell you why.
When it comes to Krishna, you study his entire life, it's likely that you will find yourself feeling more connected to one part of his life than the other parts.
Absolutely.
And that's often a reflection of you yourself.
Krishna is a heartbeat in this country. Krishna Avataram, final Avataram. When Krishna comes, for everybody, it's the last Janma. Nobody who comes in contact with Krishna comes back into Samsara Chakra.
Why did I get goosebumps right now?
You can be anything directed towards Krishna, your life will change. Allow yourself to be soaked in Radha and Krishna. They will take you to wherever you are meant to be, whoever your Ishtadevata is. They will find you and they will place you. And if it is them, then you have already reached.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
We're with the newfound all-star, the newfound superstar.
Big words.
The magical voice that we found in 2024, Vinay Varanasi, is back on TRS.
Thank you for having me.
How are you, brother?
Good. In a zone, ready to welcome the avatars that are waiting to emerge.
Okay, we covered the Vishnu avatars and the story of the Vishnu Puran
Yes.
in the last episode, and we stopped at the Parshuram avatar.
Yes.
This is where we re-begin that story because this is a Janmashtami special. I think we're going to be a lot more focused on Krishna Bhagwan.
Sure.
But we also have to mention Ramji a little bit.
Of course.
Where would you like to begin this conversation? Personally, for me, I would just love to mention aspects of the Ramayana because that's a whole topic in itself.
Absolutely.
And it's a Janmashtami special.
Yes.
So I will let you begin the story and these concepts wherever you wish.
Thank you. So instead of treating them as two sequential avatars, maybe what we can do is actually let Krishna emerge fully. Rama will come through him. That's my belief. So
before we begin, can I request you to chant a prayer?
Sure.
Okay. Whatever you wish.
Absolutely. Sure. Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandraya Vedhase Raghunathaya Nathaya Sitaya Pataye Namaha Shri Ramapatnim Janakasya Putri Sitangana Sundara Komalangi Bhugarbhajata Bhuvanaikamata Vadhuvarabhyam Varada Bhavantu.
Beautiful.
So it was so interesting. I have to tell you how this episode itself happened. When a few days ago, when you guys had reached out saying, you're thinking of this Janmashtami special and we should do it, there were a lot of things lined up in the calendar at that time. And I was just thinking, okay, how do we make this? How do I, squeeze this in? But I haven't yet spoken on Krishna at great length. So I want to make it happen. I was just thinking about it and I said, okay, let me figure it out. I'll sleep over it. The next day, unknown to a friend, or rather unknown to me, a friend sends this message. She doesn't know about any of this context, in which she had a dream and she said, I was sitting in a Rama temple and I was speaking on Hanuman. And Hanuman was listening, and Krishna came from behind and he tapped my shoulder and he said, "You never talk about me. This is not fair." So apparently in that dream, I turned and I started speaking to Krishna about Krishna. Now I found this very interesting because it, in some senses for me, this is Krishna Avataram. That when Krishna comes, everything else merges into him. And I think that's the whole premise on which we can also begin to speak about today, because this Avataram is fundamentally very different. There is something about this Avataram which makes it stand out to a whole new level, which we'll explore in the course of this conversation. Every part of it is special. If you look at the context of the Avataram, of when it comes, if you look at the book, the Grantham, where this Avataram is spoken about. So let's look at, since it's a Janmashtami special, right? Let's start off looking at when do we celebrate Janmashtami. Janmashtami, as we know, as per the lunar calendar, comes in Shravana Masam, in the month of Shravan, in the dark half Ashtami, that is in the Krishna Paksha Ashtami. Krishna Paksha Ashtami is always dedicated to Kala Bhairava. All the dark halves are all the Ashtamis that come in the Krishna Paksham are Kala Ashtamis.
What is an Ashtami?
Ashtami is the 8th day. So the 8th day of the ascending or the descending moon. So either on the way to Purnima or between Purnima, which is full moon, to Amavasya, which is new moon. Now, very interestingly, the whole concept of Ratri, of night, has a lot of power in Sanatana Dharma. There are supposed to be 4 phenomenal nights in the whole year where the power of the divine becomes extremely accessible. So these 4 nights are listed out as Kalaratri. One is called Kalaratri. This is the night of Deepavali, also the night before Deepavali, which in the north is called Choti Diwali, and in the south is called as Naraka Chaturdashi. This night is supposed to be extremely powerful for any kind of sadhana, particularly for Devi sadhana. So Kalaratri is the first. The second is Maharatri. Maharatri is the night of Mahashivratri. That is when we all know that that night is powerful for sadhana. That's why actually even coming to Deepavali, many traditions stress on doing Lakshmi Puja at midnight and not finishing it in the evening. You have to do Lakshmi Puja at midnight, and there's a process where Alakshmi is removed. So you sweep the house at midnight, which you don't otherwise do. Because traditionally, once the evening lamp is lit, you don't sweep and mop the home anymore. So, but this is a practice that's very specific to Deepavali.
Midnight on main Diwali or midnight before?
So, Kalaratri is considered to be both the night before and the night of Deepavali. So, that is the night of Chaturdashi, the 14th day, and Amavasya. So, either or like we say in Sanatan Dharma, Adhikasya phalam adhikam. Do more, it gives you more fruit. So, one is Kalaratri, the second is Maharatri, the third one is called as Moharatri. Moha means delusion. Moharatri is the night, or is the name given to the night of Janmashtami, because this night is phenomenal. But I'll complete the fourth one and then come back to this night. The fourth one is called as Daruna. Daruna is the night of Akshaya Tritiya. This night is supposed to be one of the most powerful in the year, where you can actually experience Devi. So there is a specific suktam in the Vedas that is called as Ratri Suktam. Those who are initiated into this and those who kind of, do their sadhana in a way that it culminates on any of these 4 nights. In history, there have been examples of people who have had sakshatkaram, who have actually seen the goddess on these nights. So it's interesting that these 4 nights, Janmashtami features in them, because the night of Janmashtami is spectacular.
When does the 4th night happen?
Akshaya Tritiya.
Which is when?
Akshaya Tritiya comes corresponding to the English calendar around April-May. Okay. Corresponding to the lunar and solar calendars in the month of Vaishakha. That is the 3rd day. Of course, Akshaya Tritiya, like Dhanteras, has become a day about buying wealth. So most people forget that it's actually a day of intense sadhana and a night of intense sadhana. Akshaya Tritiya also gets that name because what sadhana you do on that day gives you Akshaya Phalam, endless fruit. So hence Akshaya Tritiya. But that's a different discussion. So coming back to Moharatri, the night of delusion. So the night that he chooses to arrive itself is a powerful one. Ashtami, the 8th day, like I said, on one hand is always dedicated, the Kala Ashtami, the dark Ashtamis. When I say dark, it's in terms of the phases of the moon. So this comes in the dark half of the month because it's heading towards Amavasya. That Ashtami is always sacred to Kala Bhairava. Now, in addition to this is a night that something spectacular happens. Most of us are familiar with the birth of Krishna, the story that he is born to Vasudeva and Devaki on one side, and soon after his miraculous birth in the jail, because that's where they were jailed, He's taken across the Yamuna. Vasudeva takes him across, and there he is swapped with a baby girl that is born there. Here is the first indication in the story. Something phenomenal about this avataram. This is an avataram where Krishna and Shakti both are born. Because Devi and Vishnu, as we discussed earlier, are considered to be brother and sister. She is called as Padmanabha Sahodari, Shyama Krishna Sodari. She is supposed to be the sister of Krishna or of Vishnu. So they come together, they are twins. Now, this is the linear story that we know. But this is the beautiful thing. The whole aspect of Krishna's arrival is not an ordinary one. There is something magical happening in every part of the story. Look at this context where he appears. He appears, I will not say born because there is no birth for Paramapurusha. But when he takes form, he immediately shows Devaki and Vasudeva his Swarupam. He shows them with Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma. He shows them his Swarupam as Vishnu. And there they praise him, they extol him, and then he converts himself into a little boy. So from the little boy, they saw the Swarupam and it went back as a little boy. Vasudeva puts him into that basket and Krishna instructs him, saying, take me onto the other side of Yamuna.
Can I pause you here just a little bit? For story context.
Yes.
Who was Kansa?
Okay, sure.
Like, let's rewind this a little bit and then come back to this point.
Absolutely. So, Vasudeva and Devaki, when they get married, Devaki has a cousin brother by name Kamsa. Kamsa has this, he's very fond of Devaki. And he's the one who's conducted this wedding in a huge, lavish, grand way. But post the wedding, as soon as the wedding is over, when he's taking them for a procession, that is when he hears an Akashavani, a voice in the heavens that says the 8th child of this woman is going to be, is going to be responsible for your death. So Kamsa's first reaction is he wants to kill his sister. So it's Vasudeva who implores him and says, don't look, the danger to you is through the 8th child, right? So we will give you the 8th child. And why 8th child? We'll give you all the children that we have so that there is absolutely no danger to your life. So Kamsa instructs for them to be put into a jail, Vasudeva and Devaki, his cousin sister and her husband. And initially when the first few children are born also, he doesn't even take them. He doesn't, because he knows what, he's been told that the 8th child is the problem child, literally. So he's only interested in killing that child. He has nothing to do with the other children. But the beauty of Krishna Katha starts here. Most of us go through this part, we read through it in a great hurry. But Kamsa is sitting happily. He knows only that 8th child will cause me some trouble when it comes. He's not even thinking about anything. He's carrying on with his work. It's at that time that Narada Muni comes. And he says, look, the voice said the 8th child, but who knows if it will be 8 combined with the other 7 that could cause trouble. So how are you letting them be? You should kill all of them as well. Now this looks like a very gruesome thing to do, no? Killing 7 innocent children, or the children that have come before, the 7th one doesn't get killed. So Kamsa immediately acts on this order and he orders for the children so far that have been born to be killed. What a gruesome act. But here lies the idea. The idea of this, why does Narada come and instill or instigate such a thing? Because he wants Kamsa to start thinking about the 8th child. Thinking about Krishna is the whole key to unlocking the mystery of the world of Krishna. Anybody who comes in contact with Krishna, they're thinking about him. Good, bad is secondary. Whether they're in love with him, whether they hate him, doesn't matter. Kamsa gets mukti. The same Kamsa who had his own sister imprisoned and tried to kill all of her children and tried to have the 8th child killed, ultimately finds deliverance at the hands of that very 8th child. Because he becomes obsessed. He keeps thinking, when will the 8th child be born? When will the 8th child be born? This is yoga. When you are constantly thinking, Kamsa becomes a category of yogis called as Bhaya Yogi. He is a yogi not through happiness or through joy, but he is a yogi on account of his fear. Ravana falls into the same category in the Ramayana. Ravana is also constantly thinking, when will Rama come? When will Rama come? Or who is this who has come on behalf of Rama and has burnt all of Lanka? That is Hanuman. So when fear enters, but that fear is about that supreme concept, that supreme ideology, then even that will give you deliverance. So that is what is indicated through Kamsa. So he has them bound, and on that phenomenal night, Vyasa, when he writes the Bhagavatam, when he writes the Bhagavata Puranam, when he comes to this chapter, he wants to show you everything that's there. That is why he begins saying, Tam Adbhutam Balakam. 2 words. Adbhutam, extraordinary. Balakam, baby boy. But immediately after that, he describes the Swarupam of the baby boy. It's a baby boy, but his Swarupam is Maharha Vaidurya Kirita Kundala Trisha Parishwata Sahasra Kuntalam Balakam. He has all of these Rajalanchanas, all of these adornments, all of this Swarupam that is fitting the Lord of the universe, but he's a boy. Vyasa cannot control himself. This is the difference between Ramavataram and Krishnavataram. In Ramavataram, the whole context is Rama pretends to be a man. Valmiki gives it away only in one place when he says the Lord of the universe was born as Kausalya's son, because Valmiki could not contain that joy. But after that, Rama is treated as a man in the epic till Ravana's death. There is a reason for that. I'll come there later. But in Krishnavataram, the glory manifests from second number 1. He's already established that it is Mahavishnu and there is no condition here. In the case of Ramavataram, Ravana had a condition. Ravana said, I should not die at the hands of a man. So that condition has to be honored. So to honor that, Rama pretends to be the perfect man. Krishna has no such conditions. So he's come on this side of the river. But this is the story we know, that once Krishna appears like this and shows his parents his Swarupa, he tells them, take me to the other side.
Again, I got to pause you a little bit. There is something I have to say, and there's also an associated question.
Yes.
How do we know the story of Krishna's life? Where is it written?
Okay, sure. Do you want me to take that, or do you want to?
You can tell us that first.
Sure. Again, it's so interesting that you ask this now, because the whole time in my head, one thought has been running saying, we haven't done a pranamam to the Grantham, to the book from where all of this comes. So Krishna's story, predominantly, we find in the Bhagavata Puranam, or Srimad Bhagavatam as it is known. This book itself is extraordinary. It's wrong to call it a book because it is very much the body of Vishnu. Bhagavata Puranam has 12 chapters, as we call 12 skandhas. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. If you add Omkaram to that, you get 12 syllables. The 12 syllables of the Vasudeva mantram correspond to the 12 chapters of this book.
Wow.
So the mantra of Vasudeva becomes a book. That book takes a human form. Not a human form, it takes a divine form. That form, if you look at the commentaries on the Bhagavatam, they will tell you which chapter corresponds to which organ of the Lord. It is extraordinary. I'll give you an example. The heart of Bhagavatam comes in the 7th chapter, Saptama Skandam. The heart of Bhagavatam, meaning that for this entire book, this is the heart. This is the Hridaya Sthanam. The Hridaya Sthanam is given to Prahlada Charitram. So this goes beyond poetry. What they're trying to tell you is the heart of this entire Vasudeva Tattvam of understanding the essence of Vishnu is in understanding the devotee. The heart of God is the devotee. That is why Prahlada Charitram is the Hridaya Sthanam. Krishna's story, the whole context of the Bhagavatam, comes in the 10th chapter. What is the basic backstory to the Bhagavatam? There is a phenomenal king, Parikshit Maharaj, a descendant of the Pandavas. When Parikshit Maharaj sits down, knowing that his life is going to leave him in 7 days, he's yearning for moksha, he's yearning for release. At this point, Vyasa's son, Shuka Yogendra sits him down and for 7 days at a stretch, does the first ever Bhagavata Saptaham, that is 7 days of Bhagavad Katha. At the end of it, Parikshit attains moksha. This is the premise of Bhagavatam. But look at this premise, this context itself. In the very beginning itself, he says, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Shuka Yogendra tells Parikshit, Krishna is Bhagavan. But he doesn't tell you Krishna's story up till the 10th chapter. Because Krishna's Katha requires a certain firmness. It requires that the Atma must ripen. Only when there is ripening of the spirit within can we understand Krishna. Because at the end of 9 chapters, Parikshit asks, he says, you've told me about various other Leelas. So like I said, Prahlada Charitra comes, Narasimha naturally comes after that, a host of Bhagavad Leelas come. Then he says, tell me about Krishna Katha. The second he says that, Shuka Yogendra says, now you have asked the question which you are ready for, and he begins Krishna Katha, which comes in the 10th chapter. The Dashama Skandam, where this comes, as I said earlier, each part corresponds to a different organ of Paramapurusha. The Dashama Skandam, the 10th chapter, corresponds to the face of the Lord. So, if you have to look at any person, essentially we establish connect with them through their face. We may admire every other visible organ that we can see, but we make eye contact with the face. We gaze upon the face even for the Lord to look at that form. So what they mean by saying this is saying that the entire essence of Bhagavatam is in the 10th chapter. And that is why when Krishna Katha begins over here, it takes over a completely different look and shape for the person who's hearing it and for the person who's saying it. So this is the Bhagavata Puranam, where the story that I just told you about Krishna being or taking form and then asking his parents, this happens in Mathura. From Mathura, he asks them, take me across the Yamuna and take me to Gokul. So that's where they go.
Gotcha. What's in the 11th and 12th chapter?
So the Bhagavatam continues at the very end of the Dashamaskandam. So I'll come to the 11th and 12th in just a bit. The whole premise of the Dashamaskandam is, this is the ultimate. Krishna Avataram is the ultimate. From here, whatever is left for Parikshit to internalize. You see chapters talking about the Atma, the nature of the Atma, coming towards the last few chapters, because Krishna's Charitram itself extends across these. Now Krishna Katha is the last portion that takes him ultimately towards his internal journey. Various stories regarding Krishna from his birth. But the additional idea here is Krishna Katha is not contained only in the Bhagavatam. It also appears in Mahabharatam. Because portions that are given in great detail here, there are mentioned in brief, and other portions that you don't find too many references to here are expanded upon in the Mahabharatam and subsequently other Puranas. So, yes.
Wow. Okay. Now, I'm going to mention something that I have been wanting to say since the beginning of this episode.
Sure.
It's almost unrelated to what you're saying, but also adjacently related. Possibly one of the guests that I enjoyed speaking to the most over the course of the whole podcast is Nilesh Oak, sir. And Nilesh Oak's whole subject is the dating of the Indian epics.
Yeah.
The Ramayana and Mahabharata. We also had a phenomenal guest named Rupa Bhati, whose episodes haven't been released yet. She's working within that same subject, studying the Rig Veda and trying to date India's history, basically, using astronomy.
Sure.
Incredible podcast. I'll shorten what I'm trying to say by mentioning that basically all of Nilesh Oak's research and Rupa Bhati's research has led to understanding that the Mahabharata happened at the 5561 BC mark. That's the dating of the Mahabharata.
Okay.
And they say 36 years after the Mahabharata is when Krishna passed away, which is about 5525 BC, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. And they've also gone on to date the Ramayana. It's roughly around 12,000 BC. All of their life's research has been about these two dates.
Sure.
Now that got me thinking that if you actually draw a line from 2024 right back up to 12,000 BC, the Mahabharata, which happens at 5561 BC, is exactly at the midpoint between now and the Ramayana. And then when you link it to the avatars, I think to myself that, damn, the way we look at Krishna is probably how the characters of the Mahabharata looked at
Rama.
Yes.
Yes.
And Hanumanji.
Absolutely.
It also kind of makes me positively question that these were all based on real beings that were a part of our realm.
Absolutely.
These stories are based on beings that were a part of our realm. And yet there's poetry associated with them. Yet there are massive granthas written about these same characters.
Yes.
How do you feel about this subject related to the dating of these epics? I'd just love to know your opinion.
So it's interesting that when we look at this Rama and Krishna sequentially, most of us think that, so Rama came in Treta Yuga, Krishna came in Dwapar Yuga. But there are a host of Puranas that say it's not in the same cycle of yugas that they came. So any Mahayuga, what do we call as a Mahayuga? The combination of Satyuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga and Kali Yuga. 4 yugas put together is one Mahayuga. So it's not that Treta Yuga finished, Rama came in Treta Yuga, and it's not that as soon as Treta Yuga finished, Krishna came in the same Dwapara. It said that after one Mahayuga, in the next Dwapar Yuga is when Krishna incarnated. So the numbers that you're giving suggest that there is that much of a gap between the two. No, it's not, ye kal khatam hua and the next thing began the next morning kind of a thing. So there is a massive gap between the two. Like you said, there are stories that connect, that Krishna's mother Yashoda tells him about Rama. So Rama was very much living and breathing in everybody's consciousness by the time of Krishna's arrival. Absolutely. So it's, again, dates is a huge subject to go into. You will also see timelessness of this, because every time there is a Mahayuga cycle, there is a Rama and there is a Krishna that comes. There is a beautiful story in Ramayana that says this, where Rama asks Hanuman, this is much after the Pattabhishekam, after Rama is coronated as king. He tells Hanuman, Hanuman, some time ago, Brahmadeva had taken the ring from me, the ring that you gave to Sita when you went to Lanka searching for her, and you sent a ring on my behalf which had Ramanamam on it. That ring was taken by Brahmadeva. He wanted it at some point of time to keep it and worship with him. I want you to go and bring that back. So Hanuman goes. When Hanuman goes to Brahmaloka and he asks him for it, it's a very long story, I'm condensing it. Brahmadeva tells him there is a pond in Satyaloka where I am. Go to that pond and I'm worshipping that ring inside the pond. Step into the pond and you can take it. When Hanuman steps into that pond, he sees like tons and tons of rings. The whole river bed, that whole pond bed is covered with rings. So he comes out confused and comes straight back to Rama and he says, which one is the ring? I didn't know which one. They all look identical. So Rama smiles and he says, I did this to show you the timelessness of my leela. Every time there is a new yuga, there is a Rama avatar. And every time that happens, the same story enacts and Brahmadeva takes the ring and keeps it there. So look how many Rama avatarams have happened. So it could also be that the dates that we're talking about are dating to one Rama avataram. The ones that came before, we don't know. Again, cyclic nature of time, Kala Chakram as we call it. So yeah.
Okay. Now we can move on. Just wanted to set this kind of a context because this is a subject I'm obsessed with.
Right.
And we've covered the philosophy on some episodes.
Yeah.
But at age 31, I feel like I'll be able to cover the philosophy even deeper now.
Sure.
So let's go with the philosophy as well as the story again. I will let you continue your storytelling now.
You use the word obsession. That's what Krishna Avataram is about. Everybody becomes obsessed with him. And that's the effect he still has on Bharatavarsha and beyond, not just within this country. Krishna Bhakti entails being obsessed with him. That's why when you come to this realm, you will see the stories start to reflect how everybody loses their rational thought process when it comes to Krishna. Something magical is always happening. And it happens right from the time of his arrival to all the Leelas that he does because he's communicating something. So I'll because we're talking about his arrival or the birth, the avataram, we'll talk about that and then I'll explain more about this. So the whole context is that this boy now is not safe here because Kamsa has this whole thing that he's going to kill the 8th child because the 8th child is threatening him. So what does Kamsa want to do? Kamsa wants to dispose of him. So Krishna gives Vasudeva, his father, the instruction saying, take me to the other side of Yamuna and there place me in Nanda and Yashoda's house. A baby girl is born to them on the same night. Bring that girl here and put her in my place. This is what Vasudeva is told to do and Vasudeva does as told. Of course, once people start writing about this portion, their ecstasy comes through. The kind of poetic descriptions that come out. So Mathura is again on the banks of Yamuna and the other side is Gokul. As soon as he steps out, Shravan Masam comes in Varsha Ritu. It is monsoon season. So the river is in full spate and it's raining above. So as soon as he steps out with Krishna and his basket on his head, Adisesha comes to protect this little boy because he doesn't want the boy to get wet because that is the one, that is Narayana himself that reclines on him. But as soon as they come to Yamuna, there's one beautiful version that says, Vasudeva looks at Yamuna and he wonders, how will I cross this river? I mean, imagine a river in full spate at midnight on a night where it's pouring. Anyone would be daunted. And to add to this fear, the river is just rising. The river is rising because Yamuna is trying to find a way to touch Krishna's feet because this boy has just come and she wants to take his blessing at the beginning of the avataram. The second one of her water droplets falls on his feet. She immediately parts way and subdues herself. So Vasudeva walks straight across and he reaches Gokul. Now here is where the rahasyam is. Many people don't know this. We all think he goes there, he swaps the baby girl and the baby boy and comes back. That's not what happens. On the other side of the river, Nanda and Yashoda, Nanda is a chieftain of a local tribe there. Nanda's wife Yashoda, they have a baby girl is what they think. What they don't know is along with the baby girl, Yashoda gave birth to a beam of light. So this story is not told in the Bhagavata Puranam. It is told in other Puranams. What this version says is, when Vasudeva went and exchanged Krishna, when he placed Krishna over there, this Krishna and that beam of light merged. What's the rahasyam here? The rahasyam here takes us into a completely different world. What we know is that Vishnu incarnates as Krishna. Vishnu takes form as Krishna. This is what we understand from the realm of Vishnu. But the realm of Krishna extends beyond this. The realm of Krishna says that just like Vishnu has an eternal world called Vaikuntham, where he is with Mahalakshmi, we spoke about this last time. Just like Vishnu has this realm, Shiva has a Kailasa, Devi has a Manidvipa, every divine presence has their own loka. Just like that, Krishna has an eternal loka which is called as Goloka. That's not Goloka here on earth. That is Goloka which is beyond Brahmandas, beyond the universe. For all the other avatarams that Narayana takes, it is only Vishnu in Vaikuntha who comes and takes form. For this avatara, it is both of these who come together, meaning Vishnu in Vaikuntha and Krishna in Goloka. Vishnu in Vaikuntha came to Vasudeva and Devaki. I told you, right? He showed his Swarupam with Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma. That is Vishnu in Vaikuntha. The other Swarupam, which is Krishna and Goloka, came as the beam of light to Nanda and Yashoda. So both of them merged, and this avataram is both of their merging together. That is why if you see the names of Krishna, one of the names given to Krishna is Nanda Sambhava, the one who was born from Nanda. How can we say that based on the regular story we know? Technically, Nanda and Yashoda adopted him, though they didn't know they were adopting him. But that's not true. He was born to them as well. The whole idea is this avataram is Adbhutam. This is extraordinary. This is something special, and the stories keep highlighting that, and they keep coming back to that. So that is the entry into Gokulam, which marks a very different phase in Krishna's life. Because now the whole... And this also marks the difference in Janmashtami. In Janmashtami celebrations, Janmashtami is split across 2 days, even now. The first is the day of Janmashtami, which culminates in the puja that happens at midnight, because that is when he takes avataram. That the next day, so it's the next day that Nanda and Yashoda, when they wake up, they realize, oh, there's a baby boy here. And that's when there is an Utsav in Gokulam. Because there is an Utsav in Gokul, that day is called as Gokul Ashtami. So you will see Janmashtami celebrations across the country roughly with these names only. Janmashtami will be different, Gokul Ashtami will be different. So that happens the next day. So, I mean, if you go to Vrindavan, you will see in Gokul the kind of celebration there. Yes.
Weren't they aware of the two babies being exchanged?
Exactly. Good question. How come they didn't know? Who was born to Nanda and Yashoda? Krishna is born on this side, or Vishnu, let's say, is born on this side. On the other side, Vishnu's sister, like I mentioned, whose name is Yogamaya, Maya Shakti, is born there. By virtue of Maya being born, nobody knows what's happening. That's why they didn't even realize that they had a baby girl. Because Maya is like a blanket. When Maya operates on his instruction, everyone gets deluded. Delusion, moha. The night that he came, Moharatri. So one thing connects to another. And this Yogamaya, what happens? Vasudeva brings back this girl. Again, the story does something phenomenal. As soon as he brings back this girl, it is at that point of time that suddenly all the quietness here disappears. Because when Vasudeva was taking him, magically the chains that were binding him and Devaki, those were released. The guards that were keep vigilant throughout, they became sleepy. All of this was when he was taking Krishna out, so that news should not go to Kamsa. But the second Vasudeva brought her back, the girl cried, the guards got up, and news was immediately sent to Kamsa. Why does this happen? Again, looks like a very gruesome detail, because Kamsa comes and he tries to kill the baby girl. He takes the baby girl and tries to smash her head on the stone. What happens instead? The baby girl slips out of his hands and goes into the sky. And she says, your killer is on the other side of Yamuna, and your killer will come for you. This is the concept of Bhaya Yogam, like I mentioned. It gets instilled inside him. Because Kamsa now goes back and he starts thinking, my killer, my killer, my killer. Just replace the word killer with Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. It becomes Namajapam. What is your criteria for moksha? Your criteria is that you have to constantly think. You have to be in that state of constant contemplation. Kamsa becomes that. So Kamsa sends a host of Rakshasas now to Gokul, and those form portions of Krishna Leelas, where he deals with these Rakshasas that Kamsa sends.
Was he also a Rakshasa himself?
Who, Kamsa? Yes. Kamsa has his own story associated with him of how he came to be a Rakshasa. Kamsa and his whole hatred for Krishna is a very interesting subject, because his is not a hatred that comes prior. For example, in the case of Ravana, Ravana looks down on man, like on a human being. He feels, I'm so powerful, a man can do nothing to me. Kamsa has that attitude in general. He's just a tyrant. So his whole context is very different. Because you're on the topic of asking about different Rakshasas and their backstories, each of them you can trace back. Not just Rakshasas. This is the beautiful thing, Ranveer. Every character in a Puranic story will have at least 3 generations, or not 3 generations, 3 lifetimes worth of backstories that you can trace. Saying in this body, they were these people. In this time, they were this people. Same thing with Vasudeva and Devaki. Same thing with Nanda and Yashoda. Same thing with Radha's parents. Same thing with Kamsa. So each thing will go back and make you realize, why are they telling you this story here? But the thing is, the organization of Puranas is very fantastic. Here in Bhagavatam, the focus is Krishna's story. So they don't get into too many of these back details. But you will have allied texts. You will have other Puranas where these things get elaborately spoken about. So the story I just said about, Vishnu and Krishna merging, that you find in Brahmavaivarta Purana in great detail. That doesn't come out here because Vyasa's focus here is learn the story, learn the basics of the story. The nuances will reveal themselves as and when to you. So, yes.
Okay. I don't want to stop you, man. Go on.
So, this Yogamaya that comes here, that she slips out of Kamsa's hand and goes into the skies, this same Yogamaya is the one, her presence reassures Vasudeva and Devaki. Reassuring in Sanskritam is called as Bhadratvam. Bhadram is when you feel safe. And she brought them great news by saying he is safe on the other side and he will relieve them because Kamsa still has them in jail. And Kamsa has kept his father also. He's ensured that his father Ugrasena is not sitting on the throne. Vasudeva and Devaki are operating from a great space of dharma. So for them to know that this tyrant is ruling like this, that bothers them. Now she has given this Bhadratvam. She has given this news that yes, your killer is on the other side. He will come. This news brings them, it's good news. So it's Su. She is the one who becomes Subhadra later on in the story. This is Subhadra, who is Vishnu's Yogamaya Shakti, who is in Puri Jagannath. Along with him, she is there, along with Balarama Swami. Balarama, again, his brother. Krishna's brother, the seventh child of Devaki. Again, his name only suggests something so interesting. Because, again, like I said, Rama Avataram and Krishna Avataram, you can take them in parallel and have so much fun. When he comes as Rama, he has three brothers. That is Lakshmana, Shatrughna and Bharata. The difference here is he has only one brother. So a lot of people have different questions about this as to what does this go on to talk about. It is the same Adisesha, his eternal couch and his eternal resting point in the Milky Ocean, in the Ksherasagaram, that manifests first as Lakshmana. When just look at Lakshmana as a character. Wherever Rama goes, he will go. There is not a single place that in the Ramayana where you can find Rama without Lakshmana. In fact, from the perspective of sadhana also, if you want to ask for Rama's protection, you will always ask it with Lakshmana Swami. Agrata prishtataschaiva parshvatascha mahabalau akarna purna dhanvano rakshetam Rama Lakshmano. May Rama and Lakshmana protect me.
Wow.
Because whenever they have to come, they come together.
Why did I get goosebumps right now, man?
See, that's Rama and Lakshmana. Because whenever Rama is invoked, Lakshmana is with him. From the time, take the very first story. Rama is growing in Ayodhya and Vishwamitra enters and he tells Dashratha, I am performing a Mahayajnam. I need protection. Ramayanam will give you a rahasya right then and there. Dashratha says, I'll come. Vishwamitra says, I didn't ask for you. I asked for your son. You gave me your word that whatever I ask for, you'll give. Send your son. Dashratha immediately panics. And with great reluctance, after Vasishtha saying, listen, Dashratha, don't go back on your word, is when he sends Rama. Only Rama is asked for. Vishwamitra doesn't ask for Lakshmana. But Lakshmana still comes. And when Lakshmana is going, nobody says no. Because everyone, knowingly or unknowingly, recognizes both of them together. Raksha Swarupam means both of them. If you think of Rama and Lakshmana holding with their arms stretched and their arrows ready to shoot, you think of this when you are in danger, they will physically protect you. There are tons of experiences. A very famous Vagyakara, a composer par excellence called Tyagaraja Swami, one of the trinity of Carnatic music. He has had instances in his life when Rama and Lakshmana have protected him and the wealth that was being transported along with him back to his hometown when he didn't even know that they were doing this. There is an instance where he's going back to his hometown and a merchant sends some gold along with him. He doesn't know it. In the palanquin, it's there. So they're going through the forest and Tyagaraja Swami's disciple comes to him and he says, I don't think we should go through the forest at night because we have gold. So Tyagaraja Swami says, why are we carrying gold? He says, no, that merchant gave it. He said, it's not for you, it's for the Rama that you are worshipping at home. So Tyagaraja Swami made a statement saying, Rama's wealth, no, Rama will take care of it. And then they go through the forest in the night. In the morning, when they briefly stop, when Tyagaraja Swami comes out of the palanquin, at that point, a bunch of forest thieves come running to him and they fall at his feet. And he says, why are you falling at my feet? They said, we tried to attack your carriage, your palanquin in the night, but two people protected it. One standing in front, one at the back. One was extremely dark, one was extremely fair. Both of them, we just want to see them again. They were so beautiful to gaze at. And that is when Tyagaraja Swami laments, saying, you showed your form to someone who was trying to attack me, but you won't show yourself to me, is it? But the point of the story is that they come like that. Rama and Lakshmana are stuck together. Lakshmana Swami is like that. He'll never leave him. Look at the bhakti that he has in that avataram. The way he follows Rama, the way he leads the way for Rama also, metaphorically, literally, right? He's the one always clearing the path. He's the one that is building the cottage. He's the one who's ensuring Rama should be comfortable. Who asked him to come on the Vanvasam? Nobody. But he went. And what phenomenal dharma he does. Now, this is in Rama Avataram. You fast forward to Krishna Avataram. First of all, here, Lakshmana Swami is the younger brother. Come to Krishna Avataram, he becomes the older brother. And here, as an older brother, the relationship is so different. The kind of friendship that evolves between the two, it's so beautiful. I was recently in Vrindavan, and this beautiful place called Ter Kadam. In Ter Kadam, this is one of the spots where Krishna and Balarama used to graze the cows. So if you go to Ter Kadam, you will see two idols of Krishna and Balarama, where Balarama is resting his hand on Krishna's shoulder like this. Lakshmana Swami will not do that for Rama. But this is a rahasyam in bhakti. When you serve like that, you serve like Lakshmana, you can become as close to him as Balarama. You can hold him like this. That's the proximity that you get. So Balarama here is Krishna's elder brother, born before Krishna. He is the 7th child. Devaki's 8th child is Krishna. The 7th child, when Devaki has conceived this child, at that point, sitting in Vaikuntha, Vishnu says, Yogamaya, you must act now. Pull this baby out of Devaki's womb and place her in another lady's womb. This other lady, her name is Rohini. Place this little baby into Rohini's womb. Let the baby grow there safely and let Rohini give birth to him. What happens here? Everybody assumes that Devaki had a miscarriage because this is happening in great secret. Nobody else knows this except Yogamaya. What is interesting about this story? This baby is pulled out of the womb. In Sanskritam, the concept of pulling is karshana, to pull. Krishna also comes from the word karshana. Karshan, akarshan in Hindi is also the same idea, that you pull something. The baby is pulled out carefully with concentration. Carefully in Sanskritam is samyak. Samyak plus karshana, samkarshana, which is sankarshan, which is Balarama's name. The one that is moved carefully from one womb and is kept onto the other side. This is in context to the avatar. All these names that we are talking about, Vasudeva, Sankarshana, they have meanings in this context. Vasudeva means son of Vasudeva. But like I told you, the very Bhagavatam is based on Vasudeva's mantram, Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. But Vasudeva came only in the 10th chapter. That's when we start to realize, no, there is much more than a contextual meaning. Vasudeva does not only mean son of Vasudeva. Because we spoke about Dhruva last time, right? Dhruva receives the mantram of Vasudeva much before Krishna Avataram happens. So how is it that the son of Vasudeva's mantram was given to him earlier? Because Vasudeva means the one who has nivasa, or who resides in all living beings and shines within them. The one who is Vasam is inside this body, he is called as Vasudeva. That Vasudeva then came later as the son of Vasudeva. So it matches the context. So Sankarshana means one who is pulled out here and placed into another womb. But Sankarshana has a larger cosmic meaning. The centrifugal forces that keep the earth on its perfect axis and ensure it doesn't move slightly so that no life is harmed over here, that force is called Sankarshana.
Wow.
So look from where the concept starts and what it pulls into.
Who's writing all this poetry in your head?
That Hanuman sitting there.
You're such a poetic guy, man. Seriously, but how did you become like this? Breaking away a little bit from the story.
Just obsession. Because stories were always fascinating and I never viewed them as something that's happening elsewhere.
How was your teenage?
Normal on the outside, fun on the inside. Because what was happening inside was there was a lot that was going in, and I never knew that it would result in something else. So
Absorbing
through discourses. My parents used to go for discourses. They'd ask me to tag along if I wanted to. I would read, I would listen, I would just be around when conversations were happening.
How do you feel when you're delivering these stories?
very, very often, to be completely honest, what happens is if I come with a certain structure in my head, almost always that structure is completely demolished when I'm speaking and something else emerges. Things that I never thought I'll say, I'll end up saying. Things that I have thought through 10 times saying, yes, I must mention this, they don't happen. That's my ultimate reminder that something else is operating and not me. So, yes.
Okay. Back to the
Yes, happily.
storytelling. I love what you said about centripetal and centrifugal force. This whole thing about Vishnu Bhagavan being the sustainer of life.
Exactly. Yes.
When you look at the earth from a bit of an astrophysics perspective, you zoom out, you look at a whole solar system, and you realize that we live on a habitable planet.
Yes.
It kind of makes you question that in the grand scheme of things, when you actually try gauging the age of the universe, this is a very tiny fraction in that whole long timeline, right? Like the earth has been around for not that long. Human beings have not been around for that long.
Sure.
So there's something special about a planet which allows just enough light, just enough water, just enough air to sustain life and to have all of human history, all of the Dashavatharams,
all this experience, this rich experiences.
The evolution stories of Earth, caused because of Vishnu's leela. That he will balance the centripetal force with the centrifugal force.
And ensure everything is moving in perfect. There was a request, I think in one of the last, in the comments on the previous episode, asking about Satyanarayana. That concept connects here. We talk about Satyanarayana Puja, Satyanarayana Vrata. So it leads to a question, who is Satyanarayana? Satya means eternal. The one who is ensuring these eternal cosmic laws are followed. That the earth is on this axis. The earth takes 24 hours to move around the sun. That the sun is going to rise in the east. That it's going to set in the west. That there is a certain pattern to seasons. All of that. The one who is what we call in Sanskritam as Vishwa Niyama Karta. The one who is setting these universal niyamas in place. His desire is Satya Sankalpa. It will happen. It is he that we call as Satyanarayana. That is why we call him Satyanarayana, because his Sankalpam will remain constant and it cannot be questioned. So the one that is ensuring all of these things, like you said, that special care towards the earth. Like I mentioned, the earth is his consort. It is Bhudevi. That is why if you look at different paths of worship, the recognition and the respect that is given to Bhudevi is only through you can I reach him. Because even Devatas cannot worship. Even if they want to worship, they come down here onto Bhulokam and to do it. This is Karma Bhumi. So the power of this Bhumi is so much that it brings Devatas down here to do sadhana. So that's the kind of massive hold it has, and it is the only bridge that we have to reach him. That is why they say, hold on to the earth, be sensitive in your practices towards the earth. Don't do things that will damage the earth, it will damage your own sadhana. You have to be extremely careful with that. So
when I think of Brahma, my head automatically goes to the Big Bang, the creation of life.
Sure.
When I think of Shiva, my head automatically goes to the edges of the universe, which is the end.
Sure.
And destruction, and it also goes towards time.
Yeah.
Right? When I think of Vishnu, I go towards space.
Yes.
The time and space continuum, that they're the different sides of the same coin.
Yes.
At the same time, when I think of the blue and greens of our planet, sometimes I feel like, is Vishnu Bhagavan the actual general of all human beings and all life in general, not human beings, chimpanzees, tigers, birds, everything.
Yeah.
Tell me the Shastra-based version of what I just said, if there is any.
Absolutely, there is. This idea that this is what, all of what you said is Krishna Avataram. Look at who he moves around with in Krishna Avataram. In this Avataram, he's roaming around with cows, with birds, with animals, with peacocks, in groves, sitting in forests, going and grazing these cows. All of these are nature-based activities. He is adopted into a cowherd family. He may be from the Yadu Vamsham, but he goes there and he does all of this, right? This whole idea that the one who is there in every living being and is making that consciousness, Chaitanyam, which is making that living being functional, which is making that body functional, that is Vishnu, that is Chaitanya. But with Krishna Avataram, what you see is all these beings, they become attracted to him. There are books that talk about all of what we were talking about. This whole idea that all of this life here, what chose to incarnate as what leaf in Vrindavan is mentioned in Krishna Upanishad. An Upanishad that talks about which Devata said, no, I'll be the leaf in Vrindavan when he'll come on one day and he'll sit under this tree, I'll be a leaf on that tree. Rudra said, I'll become the flute for him. Every Devata wanted a space there. When you talk about Devatas, is it gods that are sitting elsewhere? It is about a force in that being. It is about as many emotions that we have, as many elements of nature that we have. For everything, there is a Devata. Devata simply means ruling power. That ruling power is not necessarily visible to the physical eye. It is a cosmic force that is ensuring that that being is operating in a certain way. So all of these beings, Vishnu is the one that is controlling all of them. That's what we mean by sustainer, sthiti karaka. He is ensuring that there is a balance. Like you said, blue, green, his whole avataram is based on these colors only. No? In fact, interestingly, Krishna is called as Neela Megha Shyama. As we said, Shyama is the dark color. We associate it with blue, with darker shades of black also. Kali also is called Shyamala. Rama is also called as Durva Dala Shyama, the one who has the hue of a Durva leaf. Durva that we offer to Ganapati, that greenish hue Rama has. So if you go towards South India, you will see tons of, especially Tanjore paintings, they will have greenish hues of Rama. Again, elements of nature. Vishnu is always connected to nature. Every part of him it's speaking about his connection to nature. That's why nature is the easiest way to find him. Look at the practices around him. Look at Krishna's whole birth. Born on one side of a river, taken to the other side of a river. River sustains life. There only they're telling you. All of Krishna Leelas in the first part of his life. So Krishna Leelas are divided into two kinds of Leelas. All the Leelas that he performs now as a growing boy until he leaves Vrindavan, these are all called as Madhura Leelas. The second type, what he performs in Kurukshetra or leading up to the war between the Pandavas and the Kauravas, those are all called as Aishwarya Leelas. The interesting thing about Madhura Leelas is most of them have to do with elements of nature. He's standing on a tree and he jumps from that Kadamba tree into the water. I have to tell you something very interesting in this regard. The first time I had gone to Vrindavan, I was walking along the Yamuna on the ghats, and my friend who had taken me there, he very casually popped a question and he said, do you believe that we are what we keep thinking about? I said, what? He said, do you believe that? I said, believe what? He repeated the question, do you believe that whatever we keep thinking about, that's what we become? I said, yeah, I guess. I was not in a very philosophical mood at that time. So I said, okay. He didn't complete or, finish that conversation. He just said, hey, listen, stop where you are. You see the tree bark where you are right now? I said, yeah. So it's a tall, old tree bark. He said, just peek into that tree bark. I said, why? He said, this is the tree from where Krishna jumped. This is the Kadamba tree from where he jumped into the water when the five-headed snake Kaliya was playing havoc. So this is a story that happens when Krishna and his friends are playing ball and the ball falls into the water. And all of his friends hesitate saying, no, we can't go there because there's a poisonous snake called Kaliya or Kalinga who is going to kill us if we get there. So Krishna says that nothing to worry. He gets onto this tree and he jumps. And Krishna is not seen for some time. Some versions say it takes days. He goes underwater and he comes out dancing on Kaliya because he subdues Kaliya's pride and he drives Kaliya away because Kaliya's there terrorizing the citizens of Vrindavan. Now, this is one of Krishna's most interesting Leelas. But to complete the story, why my friend asked me this, I realized only when I peeked into that tree. I'm looking at a hollow tree bark. I put my eyes into that hollow and I pulled back immediately in horror because all I could see was two snake fangs darting out. The tree wood has become like two snake fangs. I looked at my friend and I said, what is this? And he said, that's what the tree keeps thinking about. The tree thinks about the time the snake came out. And that's the last thing that the tree saw. The tree has become that snake by virtue of thinking. Oof. That you can understand. Of course, that talks about his connection to all these natural elements. But that is Krishna Katha. That you can see the magic of the universe. You can see Krishna Leelas, which brings me to the third point around Krishna. One is Krishna Katha is in a grantham called the Bhagavata Puranam. Krishna Katha is in time, Janmashtami. And Krishna Katha is in Vrindavan. In that Vrajabhumi, the kind of things that happen there, the magic of the space. When I say Krishna Bhakti is different, it's not a loose statement. Because here you have to unlearn things from spirituality. Because everything that applies to quote unquote the boxes of spirituality, not that spirituality is a box, But there are certain tenets that we start to follow in the path of Sanatana Dharma. Krishna Bhakti will make you question even that, because it has to pull you into a different space altogether. And the experiences of those in Vrindavan are testimony to that. Because there, it's not as much about Shastram. Not to say that it disregards Shastram, but it goes into a space beyond Shastram, where you have to understand what is actually happening over here. So I'll give you an example of a story. This happened like maybe a decade ago. There's a woman in Vrindavan who used to be extremely devoted to Krishna, to the point that she would talk to Krishna in her home and Krishna would respond. She treated Krishna like her child. And one day she went to the backyard and she was chatting with the neighbor, trying to talk about something. And from inside the house, she can hear Krishna calling. He said, "Come, Amma, come and feed me." So she's gone and given him something. Again, she's seeing him. So immediately the rational mind will say, "What do you mean he said feed me?" What it means is, to her, that's how that voice spoke. So she's gone and taken care of whatever he needed. 2 minutes later, she's resuming the conversation. He said, "Amma, I need something else. I need water." Then she's done that. Again, she goes back. Again, he says, "I need a blanket. I'm feeling cold." This goes on and on and on. And her interruptions, constantly he's interrupting her. And finally he screams, says, "There's a cat that's come into the house. I'm very scared." At this point, she is talking to her neighbor and she gets extremely irritated and she says, "You have the Shankha Chakra at your disposal, no? Why are you getting so scared of a cat? Use the Shankha Chakra then." And at that point, she herself has written about this and she said, he spoke to her in a voice and he said, "You want me to use my Shankha Chakra? I will. All these days, you treated me like a son, so I treated you like a mother. Now you want to remember that I'm Paramatma, I'm again distant from you, I'm gone." This is an undoing of a spiritual truth. Spiritual truth is, remember that he's God, remember that he's God, remember that he's everywhere. Krishna Bhakti is saying, forget even that. Forget all of these things. Just fall in love. Just take care of him. That is the whole idea in Vrindavan. That is the Gopikas. That is the Gopas. When they're with Krishna, they're all thinking about Krishna. They are not thinking Krishna as Paramatma. No, they're just thinking Krishna, 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 and they're obsessed. When Krishna goes into the water after the snake Kaliya, immediately in Vrindavan, there are a series of ill omens, of upshakuns that suddenly everybody sees. Nobody's thinking that something happened to my children. They're all thinking that something happened to Krishna. That is Krishna. That he pulls your mind. Krishna is the one who pulls you towards him. Once he does that, you can't see anything else. He won't let you see anything else. He will demand 5,000% attention. And if you question that and say, "I don't want to give it to you," he'll say, "Okay, cool. Then I'm going to go to the next person." That is why Krishna Bhaktas, they go into this state of ecstasy. And there are a host of people that are testimony to that, be it the Goswamis, the different yogis who live in Vrindavan till date. When they speak of Krishna, something happens to them. So, yeah.
Can we pause this and speak about modern day Vrindavan?
Yes.
Okay. A friend of mine, Ambika Devi, she's also a content creator. She insisted that we go to Vrindavan. And I had expectations based on the stories of Krishna that I'd read when I was a kid. But the moment you enter that Braj Bhumi,
Yes.
you feel a lot of spiritual force all around you. Yet it's very, very calm. Yet it's very, very tantric. There is Krishna Tantra that's happening all around.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, people are saying Radhe Radhe.
Yes.
Everywhere you go, you see art related to Krishna.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, you feel kind of musical. Calm yet musical.
Nice words you're using. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just trying to encapsulate the emotions I felt while I was there.
Yeah.
Of course, you get deeper sleep. You also feel a lot more sattvic when you're there. Honestly.
Definitely.
You know, I remember when I went to Vrindavan in October of last year, almost a year ago. I was at the peak of my Bhairav Upasana, which is pretty fierce. And it's a pretty strong kind of process.
Energy. Yes.
So it was almost like, for lack of a better word, the opposite of that. That's what I felt being amongst all those Krishna Bhakts. Okay, I also kind of felt that the energy was so strong that it may not be for people who have not done some kind of sadhana. Like if you've not done some kind of sadhana, you may not be able to enjoy the energy here completely. That was just my own thought. That led me to thinking that, does this energy not allow anyone inside?
Good question.
And also, we had a follow-up podcast this year. I can't remember who it was with. he spoke about how the physical version of Vrindavan is in sync with the astral version of Vrindavan. So you get access to the astral version of Vrindavan.
Through
Yes,
the
when
physical.
you actually go to the physical version of Vrindavan, and
Yes.
if you're able to enter the astral version of Vrindavan
Yes.
through sadhana, through deep meditation, that's where you get easy access to Krishna and the Gopis.
Yes.
What do you have to say about that?
So, Vrindavana Bhumi, right? It's one of those phenomenal spaces where extraordinary things can happen. Extraordinary calm also is extraordinary calmness in the air, as you said. So, the thing about any kshetra is all kshetras in Bharatavarsha will correspond to certain points in the body, certain chakras, some major, some minor. What is the thought process that rishis envisioned for us when we visit kshetras? We don't go to visit kshetras to see idols, to see vigrahams. We go there for something else. We go there because there has to be, if I want to, let's say, awaken my Mooladhara chakra, there are kshetras that I need to visit. There in those kshetras, that chakra will get activated. The chakra inside will get activated because the outside is considered that. So the entire universe is called as, is looked at in Sanatan Dharma as a cow. In that case, when we look at the entire universe as a cow, there are different parts of the cow's body which are compared to different places. So, for example, the cow's nabhi, or the nabhi is the navel. So, just the area around the waist, that is compared to or is referred to as Kanchipuram. So, Kanchi is considered to be the navel of the entire universe. What do you mean by this? It's the place from where the universe is nourished. The universe is nourished by love, by desire. Kamam is Kamakshi over there in Kanchipuram. So different places correspond to different ideas. Vrindavanam, so Kashi for example, Kashi corresponds to the Agnya Chakra. Kashi Kshetram, you go there and you activate your Agnya Chakram. When again, activation sounds like it's some sensational information, but through sadhana, with a guru holding your hand and seeing you through that process, with Paramatma's grace, with Shiva's grace, this point will open. We have this very well-known idea that those who die in Kashi attain mukti. What we mean is not, of course, those who physically die, yes, no doubt about it, they attain mukti. But you can be anywhere in the universe, anywhere in the world, and you can still die in Kashi. What that means is, if you leave your pranam leaves your body when your focus is here on the Agnya Chakram, you have reached Kashi Kshetram, then you will not return. Because the Kundalini has has risen from the Mooladhara Chakra and has come till here. So that's what you mean there. Vrindavan corresponds to the Sahasrara Chakram, this point over here. Look at the whole idea now from, like you said, the astral Vrindavan. When we go to any kshetram, the first thing that we see is dirt and mud, and then we criticize it, saying it's dirty. But for a sadhaka, that doesn't matter. I'm not encouraging us to keep it dirty. It is terrible that we are the ones who cause that dirt. But when you go as a sadhaka, don't concern yourself with that. You will see the magic when you go beyond that. And you can see that in the space of Vrindavan. Like I said, the trees, you can look and you can see remnants of what happened then. But Vrindavan has many beautiful names. One of them is Nitya Leela Bhumi. It is where his Leelas didn't happen thousands of years ago. They happen every day. That is why in Vrindavan, you have different, there is a certain spots that are called as Rasa Sthali. This is where the Rasa Leela happens every day, and to honor that, at 6:37, the Aarti is performed in these are all ones, these are not even temples, there are temples within groves. The Aarti is performed immediately and they sent you out. Nidhivan is one such example. You're sent out by 7, the whole place is closed by 7 because Krishna and Radha and the Gopis will come at that time of the night and nobody can see them. So Vrindavan that we see today has some secrets that you can only access if you don't go there as a tourist. You spend time, like you said, you go there, spend time, you will feel something different happening to your body. Krishna is fundamentally a playful energy. Krishna's whole exuberance is because he likes to play with devotees. So you will see it in this joyous dancing at the temples, be it Radha Raman Mandir or in the ISKCON Mandir, any of these places, there is kirtan happening. There is such a sense of celebration. Elsewhere in Vrindavan, there are people sitting in absolute silence and they are seeing the Leelas happen in front of them. I have seen some phenomenal things there that make me realize this is not an ordinary land. And that can only be seen by somebody who is looking at that Vrindavan. What is that Vrindavan? The idea that Vrindavan here is an entry point into the Goloka of Krishna. Remember how I was mentioning about Vaikuntha Vishnu? Goloka of Krishna, we cannot access that. But Vrindavan here is capable of taking us there. Because Vrindavana Bhumi, the kind of, not just stories, but the whole experiences that people have over there, it is something else. It makes you realize, wow, this is Krishna at work. And you were mentioning about the music. There's a beautiful place. So Vrindavan is part of a larger circuit, which is called as Vraj Mandal. Vraj Mandal includes 12 different vans. So Vrindavan is one, Madhuvan is one, Belvan, all the one comes as a suffix over there. Amongst various of these ones, there is one beautiful place called Vamshi Vat. Vamshi means flute. Vat is a Vatavriksham. There is a huge Vatavriksham, a tree over here, where it was so interesting. When I'd gone there, the people there were all sticking their ear to the tree. So I also did the same thing, and we could hear very clearly there's a mridangam over there. You can hear it when you put your ear to the tree. You can hear a mridangam being played. And then went and saw the rest of the temple, and then I read a little bit about it. They had printed out something there, which I was reading, which said that for anybody and everybody, you can hear the mridangam, because this is where Krishna used to play the flute, and the Gopas would play along with him. And that happens here constantly. So the mridangam is a reminder of that. But there was this small fine print that read under that if you come here and you read Gopala Sahasranamam, which is what Shiva told Parvati, 1008 names of Gopala, and you do Gopala Sadhana, which is a world in itself, you can move beyond hearing the mridangam to hearing the flute itself. So you can actually hear the nadam, the sound which Krishna makes from his flute. Vrindavan is like that. You can hear music, but it takes work. And it takes the grace and permission of one feminine force without whom none of that is possible. Her name is Radha. Because without her, Krishna is inaccessible for us.
Great point to get back to the story.
Yes, absolutely. We'll move from Vrindavan straight into Dwarka. But this actually prompts me to say something else, which is just look at this country, right? And look at how integral Krishna is to this country. The coast and all the borders of the country are dotted with Krishna. Let's start with the east. Puri Jagannath in the east. If you follow the clockwise Paradakshina Patham, in Dakshin Bharatam, you will see Guruvayurappa, which is a huge, phenomenal form of Krishna, and Udupi Krishna. Udupi Krishna also along the coast. Go towards west, Dwarkadhish. Go up north, Badri Narayan. Come towards the central portion of India, Vithala, and come to the heart of all this, Vrindavan. So it's, in some senses, he's like he's the container that's holding Bharatvarsham. That's why Krishna is a heartbeat in this country. To different people, he appeals in very different ways. And I think that's also the premise of the story, which, like I said, is being prompted by the audience sitting at the back here, that he was reminding me that, hey, you said you'll speak about my Swami also. Not that Rama and Krishna are different, but in terms of avatarams, so many interesting things. So this whole idea of Radha, right? Because we see Radha's involvement in Ras Leela, which is, again, one of the most misinterpreted actions, and which has now become synonymous slang with, oh, ye to Ras Leela kar raha hai. You know, that's how they talk about boys who are talking to even a few girls at the same time. Because Ras Leela is one of the most potent physical or spiritual possibilities for a seeker. Remember, I was telling you about how different portions of the Bhagavatam are compared to different, or are symbolized, or we give them different attributes of Bhagavan's Purusha Swarupam, right? The Mukham is the Dashamaskandam, the 10th chapter of Bhagavatam. What is the pranam for this? Within the body, we have pancha pranas. Prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana. These are 5 different kinds of pranas. So it's not breath. Prana, again, is poorly misinterpreted or poorly translated as breath. Prana breath is a function of prana. I cannot find a close enough translatable, so I won't.
Life force.
Fair enough. You could say.
Chi.
Yeah. But that's a different world in itself. So pranas are 5. If you look in the Dashamaskandam, there are 5 chapters of the Rasa Leela. Those 5 are said to be the pranam for Bhagavan. Because understanding Bhagavan means getting into the Rasa Leela. Because there you see Krishna's entire glow. you see the entire aspect of what is the Rasa Leela. It is not a Kamakeli. It is not the dance of a lustful boy with young woman. That's what it is poorly interpreted. That's how it's found its expression in films and a host of other media, which have corrupted its essence, which is something very beautiful and very powerful. The whole idea of rasa is essence. Raso vai saha, we say, which means rasa is that Parabrahma. Rasa, the essence, is joy. The one who is able to appreciate that joy, we call them as rasikas. And you see the import of this into music and dance. Those who, especially in Carnatic concerts, we hear this word a lot, rasika, that yes, I am a rasika of this music, which when you translate to English, rasika becomes fan. But fan is much less a word in terms of its potency. Rasika means somebody who is able to extract the essence and dissolve themselves into the bliss of the experience. So when you're listening to music has that potential. It can make you just dissolve into a certain joy. Same thing with dance. Same thing with any expression, any art form or anything outside. It finds its origin in this Rasa Leela, the one who makes us dance the dance of abandon.
Let's take a step back.
Yes.
Could you explain what the word Ras Leela meant on a surface level first?
Sure.
And then we'll go to a deeper meaning.
So Krishna Leelas are many in number, right? There are host of things that happen as he's a growing boy. But like I said, once all of the Gopas are given permission to enter Vrindavan, here you see some of the most extraordinary Leelas happening.
Who are the Gopas?
The Gopas, good question. The Gopas and the Gopis are poorly translated as milkmen or the cowherds as we refer to them. But the word, if you look at Krishna Bhakti, all sampradayams, all traditions will tell you have to become a gopi to appreciate Krishna, to know Krishna. What is it telling you to do? Is it telling you to take up a certain profession and become a cowherd? This is not in any way intended to be derogatory to the profession. But the idea is, Gopas and Gopis, they may look like they are just like you and me. They're doing their functions and carrying on. But they are extraordinary people. They are people madly in love. Remember, you used the word obsession in the beginning. They are obsessed with Krishna. For them, everything is Krishna. And who are Gopas is the next question, right? As in, literally, yes, they appear like beings who are just in the vicinity of Vrindavan, growing and being happy with Krishna. But look at the word Gopa or Gopi. Go refers not only to cow. Go also means our sense organs. Indriyas are called as go. P over there refers to pibati, meaning to drink. Those who drink the essence of Paramatma with all their sense organs are called as gopis. Meaning when they are seeing, they want to see Krishna. When they hear, they want to hear Krishna Katha. When they are tasting, they want to taste Krishna Prasadam. When they are smelling, they want to smell the aroma of Krishna. When they are touching, they want to touch his lotus feet. With all their sense organs, they're singularly focused on Krishna. Becoming a gopi is one of the hardest things to do. Because it means you want Krishna, nothing from Krishna. There is a fine line, but a strong distinction between the two. When you want him in that state, you will become a gopi. That is why when sadhakas like Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said they wanted to experience Krishna, he became a gopi. He became Radha. By Radha's grace, he had some phenomenal experiences. But Radha is the one who gives Gopya Bhakti Prasadataha. The one who gives the experience of becoming a gopi. Because gopi is not about a physical aspect of feminine and masculine. He is that Paramapurusha. I have to become a gopi for him. So gopis are those beings there that had waited for lifetimes to incarnate and to be present when Krishna was born. And when Krishna did come, they centered him at the center of their existence. And everything was around him. So once they start to grow with Krishna, they're all thrilled that he's there. And one phenomenal moment happens. So I told you about Radha being crowned, and then Radha and Krishna have a secretive marriage, which even the gopis don't attend. Nobody knows about it. Much later comes a point in Vrindavan when one fine night on Purnima, Sharad Purnima, which is the Purnima that comes 5 days after. 2 Purnimas in the year are called as Sharad Purnima because they come in Sharad Ritu. This is the month when we have Navaratri and the month when we, soon after Deepavali. So that is basically Ashwija Masam and Kartika Masam. Both these Purnimas are called as Sharad Purnimas. On this night, Krishna goes into one of the vans of one of the vanams and he picks up his flute and he begins to play it. Krishna goes alone. He is playing this somewhere far away. All of these gopis are involved in samsaram. They're all involved in their own worlds. They all have homes. They all have people to take care of. They're involved in whatever ways. May all of them hear the call. Only they can hear the flute. Their families and others cannot. And this is the beginning of I will not say this is the beginning of the Rasa Leela. This is the beginning of this Leela. What is Leela then? Leela is a way in which Bhagavan shows his Swarupam. He shows his Anugraham, his grace, how he's about to bless these people. Because these were people that wanted him and him alone. And this is their moment of mukti. And it is so beautiful, Ranveer, the way the gopis deal with this. Because this becomes the story of a sadhaka who wants to attain that divine. The first stage of that is when you hear the divine calling you, you follow that call. That happens to a sadhaka. They forget everything around them. So in the case of the gopis, it's described that they're all in their homes, respective homes, doing their own things. Suddenly one lady is feeding a child and she's just dropped the child and she's going. Another lady was cooking. She's not bothered that something is there cooking. She's left. The third lady was serving her husband and in-laws. She just walked out and she followed that call. There were some who did not get to go. There were some who were blocked by others. This is teaching us about the nature of the world. When we are on spiritual journeys, there will be forces that knowingly or unknowingly or unwittingly are blocking us. Sometimes even our own folks may say, "Ye sab kya kar rahe ho abhi tum? Baad mein kar lena." But these forces will not stop a true seeker. They will pay no heed to it. They will go straight. There were some that were not allowed to go. Krishna had decided that night, I am going to give mukti to the gopikas. What about the ones who could not come? Their eyes shut and they experienced that mukti then and there. Not to say that they died, but they went into such a state where they did not associate with their body anymore. That is the ultimate moksha. That is called as Jivan Mukta Avastha, where even when you are physically alive and you are inside this body, you have lost all sensation with this body. The ones that could not go, he gave them there. But the story continues with all the ones that got pulled towards him. Of course, Rasa Leela, if we begin talking about it warrants a great episode in itself, to be very honest. But what is the current connotation of Rasa Leela? Rasa Leela, what happens after this is once the gopis are drawn to the place where Krishna is, they all find him there and he's playing the flute. So they're all surrounding him and soon they notice that there is one Krishna for every gopika. So every gopika has a personal Krishna now and he's playing the flute. They are dancing. Soon he is also dancing with them. They become intimate. This is the basic understanding of Rasa Leela. Rasa Leela has not even started, to be honest. Till this point, people have reached. And at a surface level, they have taken it and trashed it. They have, like I said, this becomes a popular slang to say, oh, if you see a boy with multiple girls, you'll say, oh, Krishna and his gopikas. These are these kind of derogatory things which people feel thrilled about saying. What they end up doing is a disservice to the actual understanding there. It is not women that are lusting after Krishna that go there. The idea of Rasa Leela, like I said, one is about being able to recognize the call of the divine and to act on it. Because Krishna is like this. If Krishna calls, he will test, do you want to come or do you not? Are you willing to let go of everything else and come right now? If you say, listen, Krishna, you're calling, but there is something that I need to attend to, I'll finish that and come, then he'll say, you know what, I'll move on. There are other seekers. I will go there. But if you follow that call, the magic happens after that. And that's what happens now. Because they're all dancing with Krishna. They're all thrilled. Stage number 1, recognizing the divine. Second, the call of the divine. Second stage is to experience and allow that bliss to drench them. Happens to all of them. Third stage, prior to Rasa Leela, suddenly all these gopikas, they're all around him. Suddenly they're all thinking to themselves, Sacha Paramatma, he is called by the entire universe. He lifted up Govardhan Parvatam. He did all of these phenomenal leelas. I caught Sacha Paramatma. No? Sacha Paramatma is in my control now. He's dancing. They don't realize it. It's a kinchit. It's such a meager, just a floating thought. The second it comes to all of them independently, Krishna is there, means Yogamaya is there. They're all deluded into thinking the same thing. The second they think that, he's disappeared. They no longer see him. Now starts the desperation. Because up till now, they didn't know what the taste of dancing like this with Krishna was. Now they did, and this is a Divya Anubhuti. It's an extraordinary experience. Now when they're experiencing this in this format, and it's taken away from them, imagine eating something that you absolutely relish, that you've never eaten before, and then having someone pull it away from you. Say, no, you can't have it anymore. So they lament, they cry, and then they discover, oh my God, I just thought that, and then they realize, oh, you also thought that. Oh, you also thought that. So everybody was thinking the same thing. And then they start to search for him. And when they search for him, they don't find him. And they're all now starting to mimic him. Stages in bhakti. You want to be with the divine so badly, you become the divine. So one of them goes and stands on top of a rock and says, oh, this rock is Kaliya and I am Krishna. I am dancing on top of this rock. Another one picks up a stone and says, this is Govardhan Parvatam. I am Krishna. What are you doing? You're mimicking him. These are all ways in which you go closer to him. You start to internalize him. But there's no sign of him. So they're all crying, they're cursing themselves. And suddenly they notice a pair of footprints. And they realize, hey, are those his footprints? So they start to follow it in the forest. It's just moonlight that they have, nothing else. And then they realize there's another pair of footprints with them. This is what Bhagavatam tells us. They realize this and they're all checking, oh my God, who's there? Because all the gopis are here, so who's with him? This is where Bhagavatam gives a hint of Radha. Bhagavatam does not reveal that it is Radha. They just see that there are two sets of footprints that are disappearing into a thicket inside the forest. They don't say anything else. Shukha Yogendra does not tell Parikshit who it is. But they're all wondering, who is this woman who's with him? And then after some time of thinking, wondering who it is, Krishna appears at some point. When Krishna decides to appear is when he appears, not when they lament. Next stage in bhakti. He will come not because you caught him. You cannot catch him. Upanishad says this. Yato vacho nivattante aprapya manasasaha. You cannot have him by your mind or by your speech. If you think so, that is ahankaram. And ahankaram immediately will be separated from him. So what does he do? He clears the gopis of that ahankaram. That yeah, he's mine. There's no mine in sadhana. There is no me. There is only you. And once he comes back now, he dances with them. And that is the Rasa Leela, where this is the dance of complete abandon, where they have recognized his true self. And that is a Nitya Rasa Leela. It happens on a daily basis. So you see the clear physical presence of Radha in other Puranams. In Bhagavata Puranam, there is just Krishna who comes like this. Since you like connections, the world of connections begins here. There is one Krishna in the center. There are gopikas all around him. For every gopika, now there is also a Krishna that is manifesting. There are Krishnas all around. There's a central point, a Bindu Sthanam, and there is a circle around him. What is a circle? Basically, multiple such dots. The same dot that is here in the center is all over. Bindu Sthanam and layers and layers and layers of Krishnas. That is nothing but the Sri Chakram. The Sri Chakram is the Bindu Sthanam in the center with Shiva and Shakti. And all around them are Nava Avarnas, 9 enclosures of different divine forces, which originate where? They originate from here. So the same Krishna that's here is the same Krishna that's all around. It is the geometrical representation of this entire universe, Vishwa Chakram, which is sustained by Shiva and Shakti.
Is it like Fibonacci?
It is a constantly expanding chakram, but it has fixed enclosures. So the Sri Chakram, when it is in 2D, it is called as Sri Yantram. It is a geometric. Okay. When it is pulled up, it becomes the Mahameru, because then the Bindu comes at the top and all of these lead up to that. That leads you into the world of Devi. So, yeah, just to show you that the same connection that Krishna's dance here is the same as the Sri Yantra or the Sri Chakra. So, yeah, one thing leads you. With Krishna, everyone comes.
One of my earliest memories in life is reading this book about Krishna's life. It was published by ISKCON, I believe. And it's just got a lot of images related to Krishna and his life, of him killing that Rakshasi who was sent to nurse him.
Putana.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's how I visualized the life of Krishna. Not for a second as a 3-year-old do you think that it's so esoteric. This podcast has become so esoteric. It's almost difficult for me to wrap my head around all of it. And I'm going to have to listen to this twice or thrice to actually absorb all of this. What do you think is the right way of dispelling this kind of information going further? Because I also think that the audience has reached that point now where we need esoteric conversations rather than just a story.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And throughout the course of you dispelling this information, there's a part of me that's wanted to interrupt you and ask you for deeper meanings behind things. And then there's a part of me which is like, no. This is not my place to interrupt you. This knowledge is coming from a higher place. My kind of micro question to you right now is, why are you describing things so esoterically?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's the
Okay.
question.
So I'll tell you why. Because so the beautiful thing about stories is the same story can hold us through our life. When you tell a 10-year-old or a 5-year-old that, look, Rama held up the bow and then the bow broke and then he married Sita, it's great. But when you are in a journey of seeking within, which presumably you are on voluntarily, at that point too, the same story can sustain you. There may come, and not may, there will come a point in every seeker's life where sadhana is not so romantic, where it's feeling difficult. At that point, can the same stories speak to us differently? So the same Rasa Leela of Krishna is beautiful when we're young. That, oh yes, Krishna is dancing and, Janmashtami is coming, so school mein to sab karwayenge hi. They'll have all of these things. Great, nothing wrong with it. That's how you introduce it. You cannot introduce this to a typical or an average child. But if you give them the basics, what happens is these esoteric conversations that we are having, these have space to emerge. You plant the seed,
Right.
it will germinate when it has to.
Wow.
The thing about esoteric conversations is there is always a tendency to over-intellectualize things also. So there are ways to level that, because even with Krishna, we can go on just decoding, but too much of decoding, he will only say, stop, no, just come and love me. Don't try and understand me. Understanding is required to a point that we say, oh my God, itna hai, there's just so much. But you pause at that point and say, now I just want to love. And that happens by going to Vrindavan. That happens by just chanting his name, by just singing his songs, just being in that environment. So esoteric conversations are important, absolutely. Like you said, we revisit the same thing multiple times and say, oh, is it speaking to me? It will speak to a seeker. In some way or the other, it will speak to him.
Before we started rolling, I was telling you about my Bhairav sadhana and
Yes.
Shiva sadhana. One of the easiest ways that I found to connect with Shiva is just going Om Namah Shivaya to dispel my own sense of overthinking, because I know I have an overactive mind and it works like magic for me. When I'm afraid, I go back to my childhood mantra, which is Om Namo Datta hai. My question to you is, if someone wants to connect with Krishna really fast, do you just say Krishna, Krishna, Krishna?
Take her name.
Radha.
Radha Ramana, Radha Krishna. Because she not only will dispel any other sound that's happening, she will filter off all of that, and at the same time she will teach us to inculcate that sense of love, because prema bhakti is one of the easiest ways in Krishna Margam. See, the thing is, when you look at Krishna, it's lovely to think of Krishna and Vrindavan. When I go to Vrindavan, I will say Radhe Radhe. What about in my circumstance? What if I'm meeting somebody and I'm saying, what is this? Can I look at that person as Krishna? But for me to look at that person as Krishna in my day-to-day interaction, I need to have recognition that there is Krishna inside him. How do I do that? I keep invoking Radha. Because Radha will give me the recognition and the power to realize that everyone around me is also Krishna. But that takes time. So it is said that after Radha was crowned as the queen of Vrindavan, as Vrindavan Adhishtatra Devata, she sent an instruction to everybody that I like Krishna Namam, because Radha takes us to Krishna. So she said everybody in Vrindavan must chant Krishna. And then one fine day, somebody goes to Krishna and finds that he's chanting Radha. So he sends an instruction back and says, please let everybody chant Radha because I like this. And then she modifies it and says, okay, in Vrindavan, because Krishna likes my name, everybody say Radhe. So that's why in Vrindavan, when you go, people will say Radhe Radhe, because it is for Krishna. It is an act of love for Krishna. You want to go closer to Krishna, just try this as a sadhana for X number of days. Fix the number of days that you will. Every conversation you have, beginning and end, place Radhe Radhe. It will change the way you speak. You will not speak rubbish. It will change the way you think. You recognize the other person in front of you as Radha, which means love, which will take you to Krishna. It will change your current circumstances also. It's not an ordinary thing. That's why the people who live in Vrindavan are blessed. They say Radhe Radhe all the time. They will not say Namaste. They will not say Theek hai ji. When they hang up, when they answer, it is Radhe Radhe. And that is immensely powerful. That's the thing with Krishna. You don't need complicated mantram, yantram, tantram. All of them exist. I'm not in any way saying that they don't or they have less value. But Namam does the job here. Because that Namam is the essence of all these things. All of that fortified power is there in those two aksharas, Radha. And put his name after that, she'll be happy. He'll be happy because her name is there. Put them, that's all you need. Same thing with Rama. Sri Rama is enough. That's all you need. So one thing can That's the power of Namam. Nama Sankirtanam is phenomenal. Because just by repeating it, you can actually get to a state where you can hear that Namam is reverberating across the universe. But that, of course, takes years and years and lifetimes, not years. But yes. So now that Ramanamam has come, I'll take you to that story because he's not going to let me be. The idea that you want to connect with him, you just recognize that he is not always in the form that you think he will be. We love Krishna because he's holding a flute or he's eating makhan and he's sitting like a little cute boy. There's no saying what form he'll come in. So this is a story that takes us, like I said, that time out of Vrindavan into Dwarka. And in Dwarka, when Krishna is sitting, which is the city that he sets up in Gujarat, in Dwarka Nagaram, there when he's sitting one day, Krishna is always a multitasker. So he's always thinking of like 3 birds with one stone or 40 birds with one stone, not one. So he thinks to himself, there is somebody's pride that I have to quell. Who is that? That happens to be his mount, Garuda. Garuda, who is Narayana's Vahana or Krishna's Vahana, is sitting, he's also there in Dwarka. He comes in Krishna Avataram. In Rama Avataram, he comes, but Rama, like I said, is such a great actor that when Garuda comes, Rama looks and he says, who is this bird? But in Krishna Avataram, happily he uses him because Rama follows those conditions there of not pretending that he is not Narayana. Krishna doesn't. Garuda thinks to himself in Dwarka that everybody says that Hanuman is the fastest person in the world, but Hanuman belongs to Treta Yuga. This is Dwapar Yugam. So in this context, right now, I am only the fastest. No, it's not that. It's a textbook reality. He's thinking this, but that is Krishna. You think something also, he'll know. So immediately he goes to Garuda and he says, Garuda, can you do me a favor? Can you please go to Hanuman and convey a message and tell him that I want to see him, that ask him to come. So immediately Garuda goes to Gandhamadana Parvatam, where Hanuman is sitting in tapas. We spoke about Gandhamadana Parvatam in the mountains. Hanuman is doing tapas over there and Garuda waits for him to open his eyes. And when Hanuman does, he sees Garuda and he says, how come you have come? So he says, my Swami is calling you. Krishna is calling you. So Hanuman says, who? And Garuda says, Krishna. Hanuman says, I don't know, I'll resume my tapas. Garuda is very perplexed. And he says, Krishna is calling you and you're saying you'll return to your tapas over here. So immediately he goes back to Krishna. Garuda goes back to Krishna and he says, look, I told him that you're calling and he didn't come. Krishna said, really? What did you say? I said, Krishna is calling. How will he come if you say Krishna is calling? Go and tell him Sita Rama are calling, he'll come. So immediately he goes there and he looks again and Hanuman says, yes, what happened? And he says, Sita Ra. He doesn't even finish Rama. He just says Sita Ra. And Hanuman gets up and he says, Rama is calling me and you're saying it so slowly. He tucks Garuda into his armpit and in one jump, he's about to be here. This shows Garuda, he will always be the fastest. This is Garuda's pride that is quelled. But there is another purpose to this story. Krishna is sensing all this before it happens and he looks in his court and he tells all the queens. Krishna has 8 wives, predominantly considered as Ashta Lakshmis. 8 forms of Lakshmi are considered as his 8 wives. Rukmini, Satyabhama, host of them. He looks at all of them and he says, look, Hanuman is about to come. In a second, Hanuman will be here. What have I sent word? I've sent word that Sita Rama are calling Hanuman. I'll convert myself into Rama, no problem. Which one of you will become Sita? And all of them are looking at each other and realizing, we don't have what it takes. Sita is Purna Brahma Swarupini. She is the complete manifestation of the divine feminine. So all of them look at each other, realizing we can't. Because up till then, even they thought that yes, we are his bharyas, his shaktis. Rukmini is the one there who's standing and she says, there is only one person who can be Sita. Let me summon her. You summon her, Swami, from Vrindavanam. In 1 second, Radha is standing by his side and Radha smiles and Radha Krishna becomes Sita Rama. So Hanuman comes and he looks at both of them and he says, Sita Rama are here. And so Krishna does this beautiful leela to talk about how Rama and Krishna are the same, Sita and Radha are the same. Wow. So mysterious, Sita, Radha. But their placement in the epic, something else. This is just about Radha, what we spoke. Sita, if you take away Sita, there's no Ramayana. Every other story, even Krishna Avataram, you will see the involvement of Lakshmi's Avataram in a certain context. It's not to say she's not important. But in Krishna Avataram, he's doing a host of Leelas by himself. Yes, in terms of Tattvam, in terms of philosophy, she's always there. But there are Avatarams where you don't see her physical presence. Like when he comes as Vamana, which we discussed last time. You don't physically see her. She's always there. But you go to Rama Avataram, she's the one who's moving the story. It is her kidnapping that makes him go to Lanka. Otherwise, he won't even go there. The whole idea that the rishis knew that if Rama has to be moving out of Ayodhya and has to go to Lanka, Vishwamitra just uses that yajnam as an excuse. What he actually wants is for Rama to go to Mithila, marry her, and he knows once I place Rama into Sita's hand, the rest of the story will move. So Sita and Radha represent that aspect of Shakti which take us straight to Rama or Krishna, depending on who our Ishtadevata is. But we have to necessarily invoke them. That is why Shri Rama, Jai Rama. This is Rama's Maha Mantram. 13 syllables, Shri Ram, Jai Rama. But the starting syllable is Shri Rama. The shlokam that I mentioned in the beginning, Ramaya Rama Bhadraya, Bhadra, the one who gives us safety. Ramachandraya Vedhase, the one who has a glowing face like the glowing moon. Ramachandraya Vedhase, the one who is the Lord of the Raghu Vamsham, Raghunathaya and my Lord, Nathaya. All this is fine. But you have to remember who he is. Sitaya Pataye Namaha. He is the Lord of Sita. Call Sita, Rama will come. Call Radha, Krishna will come. That's the easiest way. Both these margams, they gave us these ways. That is why Hanuman is always doing japam of both of them together. Because he knows that she is the easiest way to take us there.
One of my intentions behind doing this episode was to actually learn about Radha, and we've hit that mark. Still not understood it completely.
Yeah.
Because it's too deep a topic.
It is.
But this is the first time we're talking about it on the show.
Absolutely.
Before we move forward, I had another intention with this episode, which is to kind of go over the surface level story of Krishna as well.
Sure.
So from this point, where I think we've just touched upon the Ras Leela part, the Gopis, that aspect of Krishna, where roughly speaking, this was his teenage.
Yes. Fair enough to say that.
From his teenage up till the Mahabharat.
Yes.
Can you take us through that story first? Just the surface level story.
Sure.
And then we'll break down the esoteric parts of it.
Absolutely. Sure. So what you see post the Rasa Leela is that a call comes for Krishna, or rather Krishna recognizes that Kansa, the one who he had to slay, is there on the other side of Yamuna in Mathura. Kamsa is ruling there as the king. And Krishna takes it upon himself to leave Vrindavan. This is honestly one of the most heart-wrenching parts of the Bhagavatam also. Because when he goes, the sadness of the gopis, it's just something else. Because, see, Tattvam, philosophy, esoteric aspects, these are all beautiful. These, when we think about it, yes. But in terms of Katha, just look at how sad it is that the ones who loved him with all their heart are having to see him physically go away. That's why they cry, they plead, they go with him. Same thing happens in Ramavataram when he leaves Ayodhya. Because when he's banished, when Kaikai banishes him, the way Ayodhya Vasis, the Praja of Ayodhya, the way they follow him in the chariot, Rama has to leave early morning before they've come to some part of the forest with him also. And Rama wakes up the charioteer and he says, listen, we need to go before they get up. And we need to wrongly show them the path so that they get misled and they go back to Ayodhya. See, that's that viraha tapam, that pangs of separation. Even for a second, nobody wants it from Rama or Krishna. But they have to go through it. And Krishna goes over. He sure enough goes, kills a host of Rakshasas that are there in Kamsa's court. Kamsa has organized this massive wrestling match. Krishna kills all of them. Malla, etc., there are a host of them. And he kills Kamsa also. Once he kills Kamsa and he establishes Ugrasena as the king of Mathura, Krishna's Leelas take a different turn.
Who's Ugrasena?
Ugrasena is Kamsa's father. Kamsa took the kingdom wrongly from his father and before his father's time, and he imprisoned his father as well. Once Krishna re-established Ugrasena on the throne, Krishna Leelas go through a significant change. All the Leelas that happened here in Mathura and Vrindavan, predominantly Vrindavan, Gokul, Nandagaon and Mathura, are all called as Madhura Leelas. Now it is Aishwarya Leelas. Aishwarya Leelas is where he displays his Ishwaratvam, his divinity. Ishwara here being Parabrahma. He shows his divinity with no hesitation. So now is where Bhagavatam meets Bharatam, where Bhagavatam meets the Mahabharatam. Because once Kamsa is killed, we see the entry of Krishna when in the Mahabharatam we jump from this Grantham into that, where the Pandavas have been sent. The Pandavas are Krishna's cousins. They are in their own universe fighting and battling negative energies over there. And Krishna comes in contact with them. So Krishna comes to their rescue every single time, and he's with them as they fight off the Kauravas. Each time they're trying to figure out how to manage that situation, Krishna becomes their mentor. So he's by their side, he's their counsel, he's the one who's constantly advising them on what to do, how to do it, what is the best strategy. And through that, you see a very different side of Krishna.
This is Aishwarya Leela.
These are all called Aishwarya Leelas, henceforth. So, for example, how he helps them strategize about the war.
But what's the last mention of Krishna in the Bhagavatam then?
So, it's not last mention in the sense that here the focus is on the Mathura Leelas. There are mentions, Bhagavatam continues in the 11th and 12th chapter talking about, you were asking earlier, right? It continues to talk about what happens in the Aishwarya Leelas also. It's not that it stops with this.
Do they mention characters from the Mahabharata?
Yes, fully.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. All of so Vyasa is very strategic about what he places where. Vyasa being the author of both these Granthams. In the Mahabharatam, in fact, it's said that he wrote the Mahabharatam and he still didn't feel content inside. He still felt like something is missing. Narada came to him and he said, write Bhagavad Katha. Because Mahabharatam, it's extremely powerful, but at the same time, it deals with things that we encounter on a daily basis. Deals with every kind of anger, lust, jealousy, frustration, etc., etc. Vyasa expanded all of this in the story. The phenomenal story of the Pandavas versus the Kauravas and all the twists and turns. But as Bhagavata Katha, it is the Katha of Bhagavan that gave him ultimate solace. That is why he wrote the Bhagavatam. So Bhagavatam, he writes after he's written Bharatam. So every major portion from there comes here, but in lesser or more quantities depending on how much he's already expanded it over there. So there's no repetition, but if he has to drill in an idea, you will see it mentioned over here. So once he goes and meets the Pandavas and he becomes their trusted counsel, Krishna has come for two purposes. One is to bless all these Gopi Janas, these Gopas and Gopis who were waiting for lifetimes for him to come. And that's the thing about Krishna Avataram. Anybody who comes in touch with him, this is their last Janmam. So this leads me to a very well-known story about how Vishnu in Vaikuntha has two Dwarapalakas, that is Jaya and Vijaya. Vaikuntha has 7 gates of entry. You cannot make it past them easily. These are only crossed by those yogis who have gone past kama, desire, krodha, anger, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. All of these, those who conquer these 6 enemies, they go to the 7th gate if they have truly succeeded. Success in Sanskritam, jayam. Complete success, vijayam. If they have completely mastered all these, then they get entry into Vaikuntha. That's why Jaya and Vijaya are the gatekeepers. It's a metaphor. Jaya and Vijaya, on a certain instance, they block entry for 4 children. These 4 children have renounced the world before they are born. These are the Sanat Kumaras, 4 of them. They have crossed the 6 gates and they've come to the 7th one. But Bhagavad Katha is always teaching us this. It's teaching us that you cannot be arrogant. Even this much arrogance, detrimental to sadhana. Anytime you think about someone else or yourself, you'll find yourself falling. So Jaya and Vijaya block these kids and they say you cannot go inside. You haven't even experienced the world. This is for people who have finished experiencing the world. They can go inside. Tum log kaise ja sakte ho? So immediately Sanat Kumaras say, people are thinking of us as children and you think that just because you are close to Vishnu, you have the right to prevent us from entering. So we give you a curse. You will be born on earth away from Vishnu. They lament now because separation, virahatapam, always painful. So Vishnu comes out and he asks what happened. And when he hears of it, he smiles and he gives them 2 choices. He says, you go on to earth because this curse has to be fruitful. You can go and take 7 long lives where you will love me with all your heart. But those will take a long time. Or you take 3 sets of lives where you hate me with all your heart. And in all those 3 sets, I will come and I will take you back. They choose the second. They choose the latter, not the former. Because 7 long lives, 7 long sets of lives without Vishnu is far more painful than 3 quick sets. Whatever he makes them do in those 3 quick sets, they're willing to do it. This is bhakti at its best. Whatever I have to do for you, I'll do, even if it doesn't look good on paper. So they incarnate as 3 sets of Rakshasas, all 3 which get killed during the course of the Dashavatarams. The first is Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyaksha is killed by Varahaswami, who we mentioned. Hiranyakashipu by Narasimha. The next set that they come, because Jaya and Vijaya are a pair, the next set that they come is Ravana and Kumbhakarna.
Wow.
So Rama kills Ravana and Kumbhakarna. The last set, they come as Shishupala and Dantavaktra. Krishna comes and removes them. Krishna Avataram, final Avataram. When Krishna comes, for everybody, it's the last Janma. Nobody who comes in contact with Krishna comes back into Samsara Chakra. That is the rahasyam of Krishna Upasana. You touch Krishna, you go close to Krishna. If you're automatically drawn to Krishna and through sadhana you're finding yourself closer to him, it means moksham is also on its way.
Wider,
Yeah.
more twisty, more esoteric,
Yeah.
and more mind-bending conversation is about to begin right now.
Okay.
Could you say the shlok yada yada?
Yes, absolutely.
So after you say it, I'll continue.
Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyathanam adharmasya kadatmanam srujamyaham. So this idea that whenever there is a destruction whenever there is a decline in dharma, I will come. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. I will come. The Bhagavad Gita, one of his most phenomenal Aishwarya Leelas, because here he displays his all. He says, this is what I am. What happens? He takes the Pandavas and Kauravas, and Krishna is an expert strategizer. Krishna is not looking for a peaceful mediation between the two where he says, okay, just give the Pandavas their kingdom. No. Krishna uses the Pandavas and the Kauravas as a pretext to wipe the earth clean of all those kings that are living adharmically. All those kings that are a weight on Bhudevi. Why? Because one aspect is to take care of Jaya and Vijaya and send them back, which he promised he will do. But the second is Bhudevi came to him as a cow and she said, the weight of adharmam is heavy. I am feeling that weight. Adharmic kings are living and they are trampling on me. Come. And he says, I will come. And he uses it in Parshurama Avataram. He did it briefly by killing 21,000 kings. But this, in the case of Mahabharatam, when he brought the Pandavas face to face with the Kauravas, it is the war of the era. It is the yuddham of that complete era because he wants to do samula nashanam, complete destroyal of all those forces that do not want to practice dharma. So he uses the Pandavas and Kauravas and pits them against each other and says, let this war begin. And what is he? He is just a sarathi in all of this. He is just the witness. He doesn't take on any arms. He doesn't say, I'll fight this. He gets them to do it.
Bringing that Jaya and Vijaya angle back.
Yes.
You spoke about how they were Ravana and Kumbhakarna as well.
Yes.
Ravan could be understood to be the leader of the Rakshas
Yes.
Forces.
Yes.
The leader of the evil side during the Ramayana. But according to this story, Ravan's soul is the same as that of one of the servants of Vishnu.
Yes.
Okay, and it was by
Yes.
Vishnu's will that that servant becomes
Totally.
Ravan.
Totally.
Now, post the Ramayan war, obviously the world was cleaned of a lot of evil. Not just by removing Ravan, but by removing his own army.
Yeah.
And multiple other evils.
Yeah.
Bringing it back to the Yada Yada Ni Dharmasya
Yes.
shlok.
Yes.
Basically, the logic is you need to purge the earth of evil,
Totally.
but through a leela.
Yes.
Even the leader of the evil was placed there by God.
Totally.
Okay.
Totally.
That's the mind-bending angle I wanted to bring in.
Yes.
So the actual people at fault here, the actual souls at fault were the evil humans.
Yes.
But they were also being led by a part of Vishnu.
Absolutely.
Saying, hey, let me lead you here to the
Yes.
edge of this cliff.
Absolutely.
And that's how my avatar will throw you off the cliff.
Yeah.
Which is Ram, which is Krishna, which is
Totally.
Narasimha.
Yes, absolutely. You named the right avatars for this. They lead you up to that point. That is why there are some versions of the Mahabharatam where Karna is the victim in many senses, is considered to be a victim. Who is Karna? Karna is born to Kunti prior to marriage. She receives the mantram from Durvasa Muni. She tries out that mantram with Surya Bhagavan. What is that mantram? That mantram, I'm not going to reveal the mantram, of course. It's something that she can summon a devata, and through that devata she can have a son. So through that devata's grace. So she summons Surya, and through Surya's grace she has a baby. She's an unmarried woman. So this is obviously going to cast a host of aspersions on her character. So she tries to abandon the baby. She's a mother. She doesn't have the heart to kill the baby, of course. So she packs the baby into a little bundle and sends him down the river. The baby is picked up by a charioteer, Suta, and that Suta and his wife raise Karna. Karna eventually is picked up by Duryodhana, the leader of the Kaurava Sena, the first amongst the 100 brothers. He joins Duryodhana's party. Now, why I'm mentioning this instance is to build off what you said, that Krishna knows who to lead, where to lead. Look at this Leela. Karna is taken to Duryodhana and not to the Pandavas. Although technically he's older even than Yudhishthira. Because that is the Lord's Sankalpam, that there is a negative force inside Karna. That negative force comes out in the story. I won't go too much into details about Karna's negativity, but we all know about the instance of Draupadi being disrobed in public. At the time when the Pandavas and the Kauravas are involved in a game of dice, the Pandavas lose everything that belongs to them, including themselves. Yudhishthira wagers his wife, and he says, if I win, I get all of this back, but if I lose, you get my wife. Because he's, again, completely in that moment, he's lost to that Maya. And sure enough, he loses Draupadi. And when he loses Draupadi, nobody in that Sabha thinks of disrobing her. It is Karna who says, isn't she our Dasi? Then why don't you go and get her Dushasana and let her be disrobed here in public? The negative, that seed, especially relevant in a time like today, when a man thinks that a woman can be objectified and paraded in public as per a man's wish, the message in Karna's story is Paramatma is watching. That's why Paramatma pits him onto that negative side, but Karna comes to a crashing end much later. Krishna explains this to Karna much later also. Before the war, Krishna clearly tells him, listen, you are Kunti Putra. You are the eldest son of Kunti. Technically, you should be on the side of the Pandavas now, not on the Kauravas. What will you do? Karna by then has had his realization and he said, what will I do? We are all puppets in your hands. I know you have put me on this side so I can fight on Duryodhana's side. And there Krishna speaks to him. We see this in 2-3 versions of the Mahabharatam. But Krishna speaks to him and he says, there is a portion of evil inside you. That evil has to be destroyed. You have been placed there by my Sankalpam. My Sankalpam came why? Because your nature is evil. So when we look at Rama or Krishna or Narasimha as the people who led them to the edge of the cliff, their actions propelled him to do it. He didn't of his own will say, chalo, you be a pawn in my strategy. No, you are doing activities that is conducive for me to do this. I will just pick you up at your natural acceleration and place you here. That is why, how does Karna come to an end? When he's fighting with Arjuna and Krishna is Arjuna's Sarathi, whereas Karna has gotten a horrible Sarathi. Karna has gotten a terrible charioteer for himself, whose name is Shalya. Shalya's charioteering is not just about driving the horses. It's also about being able to instill confidence into the one that you're taking, the warrior, right? You need to make them feel good about it. Shalya is sarcastic. He starts to attack Karna's mode. Who is attacking Karna? Karna's karma only is coming back. Krishna is the one that is karma sakshi. He is watching all of your karmas. What happens? The chariot wheel gets stuck in the mud. And Krishna says, Arjuna, shoot now. Arjuna is hesitating. Karna speaks first. He said, isn't it adharmam that to shoot an unarmed warrior? Krishna says, who's talking about adharmam? Somebody who wanted a woman to be disrobed in public in front of so many lustful, disgusting eyes. You are talking to me about dharmam. Somebody who suggested that we shoot, that your entire Kaurava Sena should attack the Pandava Sena at a different point of time, which is another story. I'll not go into it. He cites instance after instance saying, on what basis do you talk about dharma? This is Krishna's leela. That when we negotiate in our lives and we say, Bhagavan, I've been doing all these things right. Bhagavan is aware what is the intent, number one. Number two, what are the things you are not telling people? Karna's story, this doesn't come out that he has this negative aspect to him. But when it does, Krishna says, dharma and adharma, you don't have that discussion with me because I am the universe's conscience keeper. Same thing you can draw in Ramavataram. I'll come to that in just a minute. But Krishna's Aishwarya Leelam, he shows his divinity here and he says, Arjuna, don't hesitate now. This is a moment where the law of dharma is not, it is called dharma sukshmam. It is the subtleties of dharma, saying you spend a whole life in dharmam, then your end will also be dharmic. You will be killed in a dharmic way. You will reach your final abode like that. You can't spend your life in adharmam and suddenly wake up in that last moment and be like, guys, but what about dharma? What did you do for that dharma? Have you performed any dharma for you to count on? So Krishna's leelas in this context come out like this, that they show his Ishwaratvam, and you realize, okay, here is someone who knows his entirety, and he knows without any kapatam, without any, you cannot try falsehood with him, because he pulls it out of each of us. So Krishna in the Mahabharata is very different. Krishna in the Aishwarya Leelas is very different from Krishna in the Mathura Leelas, because here the bhavam is gentle, there it is fierce, and there he takes on people. I'm sure you're aware of this. There's this very well-known story of how during the Mahabharata war, they are trying to kill Dronacharya. Dronacharya cannot, he's a fierce warrior. He is also properly on the side of the Kauravas in terms of fighting, and that fierceness is coming through. They need to attack him. They need to bring down his spirit. They can't just physically attack him. So there happens, his Dronacharya's son's name is Ashwathama, the well-known warrior. There is also an elephant on the Kaurava Sena who has the same name, by name Ashwathama. So Krishna says, let the elephant be killed, and I want you all to just go around Dronacharya and say, Ashwathama hataha. Ashwathama has been killed. Yudhishthira takes it upon himself. Yudhishthira has sworn that he'll never tell a lie. So look at this situation. No? Paramatma is standing in front of you and telling you, don't say more than I'm telling you to say. Say this much. Say Ashwathama hataha. Yudhishthira can't. So when he goes to Drona and everyone says Ashwathama hataha, he whispers Kunjaraha, which means elephant. Ashwathama, the elephant, has been killed, which is absolutely an antithesis to what Krishna wanted. Krishna wanted Drona's psyche to be affected. His psyche saying, oh my God, Ashwathama, my son is dead. Yudhishthira has gone and revealed it. When he came back, Krishna did not give it to him easy. He said, on what basis did you go do that? I didn't ask you to talk about the elephant. I asked you to do this, you do this. So Krishna becomes very fierce, like a mentor. A mentor is not always going to be gentle. He's going to hold you accountable, saying, we agreed on this. Why would you change your path? So Krishna there is a very, very different Krishna in the war. And of course, that leads me, we were talking about Glanir Bhavati Bharata, so it leads me to the very premise of the war, which is where the ultimate expression of his divinity comes out in the Bhagavad Gita, the song of the Lord. 18 chapters of just expression of that divinity. And so this is the Rahasyam, the secret of Krishna Avataram. Every portion that is here in the Bhagavad Gita, he has already or he will showcase elsewhere in his life. He says, those who believe that I am everything, Ananyas Chintayanto Mam Yejana Paryupasate. Those who dedicate their all to me, Ananyas Chintayanto Mam Yejana Paryupasate, Tesham Nityabhiyuktanam Yogakshemam Vahamyaham. Their constant welfare, Tesham Nitya Abhiyuktanam, Nitya, constant, without 1 second break, I will take care of them. Declaration from the divine. So, yeah.
Such a different energy in this part of the podcast.
Right? Even in my body, I can feel it. Yeah.
Anyone who's listening to it can feel it at this. And the energy is shifted like throughout the course of these 2 hours.
Yeah.
Someone had said this on the show. They said that when it comes to Krishna, it's such a peculiar deity or avatar that if you study his entire life, it's likely that you'll find yourself feeling more connected to one part of his life than the other parts.
Absolutely.
And that's often a reflection of you yourself.
Absolutely. Beautifully said. Beautifully said.
Again, just for the sake of understanding this same quote better, I'm going to take my own example. I bow down with respect, with reverence to all these different chapters. But for me, it's the charioteer part that appeals the most. And I think that's the case for a lot of guys, at least, that I've spoken to. A lot of female Krishna devotees I've seen relate much more to the Radha Krishna part of it, the more loving part. Don't know why that is. I just guess that's human nature. What is it for you?
So for me, it has been in what phase of life I've been at that point of time. Around the times that I have just been seeking that divine validation, that am I on the right path? Is this okay? Strangely enough, for me, it's not always been Bhagavad Gita as much as it's been Mathura Leelas. That I kept revisiting them and finding that, saying, yes, this This is how he's speaking to me through that. But like you said, different aspects of his life appeal to different people because that is Krishna. And I say this with all due humility. There is not a single kind of a sadhaka who Krishna does not cater to. You are on a fierce, intense journey of self-discovery, Krishna will do something for you. You are on gentle prema bhakti margam, or pushti margam, or any of these sampradayams that just are about opening this heart to his loving, gentle, delicate footsteps, he will speak to you. You are at a crossroads and you don't know what to do, Bhagavad Gita will speak to you. You don't know if you are right or wrong, but there are situations that demand certain fierceness from you, he will be there. You have to leave home. Look at his life now. His life is telling you that he has lived these experiences. Keep aside Paramatma, keep aside this. In our lives, when we go through certain things, especially difficult moments, the mind's nature is, has this happened to someone else? How did they deal with it? I'm not the first one to go through this, right? It reassures the mind. Look at him. Yeah, I'm keeping aside all philosophy for this discussion. Born in one home, born in a jail, transferred that same night elsewhere to another set of parents, grows up there, spends great years with them, has to move because the call of duty is elsewhere. After that, doesn't ever go back here at all, moves on, strategizes one of the greatest wars ever of the time, and ultimately watches civilizations and generations disappear in front of his eyes in cold-blooded deaths, watches and ensures that whatever sacred life has to be protected, he has done that, and then goes and retires calmly, watches his own family, which is the Yadu Vamsham, the Yadu clan, watches them being destroyed on account of their own follies and their own misdeeds, and then ultimately shot by an arrow. That is how the Avatar Samapti happens, where, so this happens post the war.
Hold on. I just want to pause you a little bit.
Yeah.
We don't hear too much about the 36 years post the Mahabharata.
Yeah.
Could you give us the surface level story of what happened?
Sure.
And where is it mentioned?
Yes.
That's the other angle.
This is mentioned in the Mahabharatam itself. What happens is, towards the end of the 18 days, or rather not towards the end, at the end of it all, Kaurava Vamsham, the entire dynasty, all of the 100 brothers, all of them barring one, they're all killed and their wives have been widowed. It's a gruesome scene on the battlefield, and there are vultures preying on those bodies, and there are rivers of blood. It's very gory. Gandhari comes onto the battlefield,
The mother of the
Kauravas. And when she sees, of course, there's a patti on her eyes because she doesn't see, but she's feeling her son's body. She's hearing her daughter-in-laws, they're all wailing. And when she sees that, grief overtakes. That's the real parts, the human parts of these stories are here. Grief is powerful. Even when rishis experience it, putra shokam especially, losing your child when you are still alive is known to be one of the most painful things that nobody should experience, because it is not the natural order of things. The natural order is parents will go first. Children, that's how age works. That's how our bodies work, right? They are older. They will go. It is an unfortunate, but a reality that somewhere is drilled inside of us. But when the reverse happens, when a parent sees a child go, it's a terrible, terrible feeling. And when Gandhari sees that this has happened, not one, but all of her sons have been killed, that grief overtakes her. And who's there when she's on the battlefield? Krishna is behind her. So when she's aware of this, that look at this, look at all this destruction, she has forgotten that her sons caused it, that they were the ones who started and sowed the bijas of adharma, and they caused all of this massive destruction for themselves. She's forgotten all of that. It's easy to pinpoint, no? When we're angry, everything for us is, what, Bhagwan? I did so much for you, but this is what you gave me in return. She looks at him and says exactly the same thing. And this is where Krishna teaches us one of the most phenomenal lessons in our lives, which is, she looks towards Krishna. Of course, looking is metaphorically. She turns to Krishna and she says, this is your doing. You brought me this much of loss. I'm having to deal with death 100 times over, and it is tearing my heart into 100 pieces. So I curse you, Krishna, that you will die silently without any respect. These are all warriors. They have all died here on the battlefield. They will attain Veeraswargam. That's where any warriors who die, they go to Veeraswargam, because they have died while performing their duty. Good or bad, that's where they go. But you will die silently. You will die by a hunter's arrow. That is my curse to you. Krishna receives that curse smilingly and he says, Amma, you shouldn't have cursed me. I'll tell you why. I would have anyway gone like that. That was how I had chosen to go. You wasted your tapas. Krishna's lesson is not in the Bhagavad Gita, it's throughout his Janmam. Krishna's lesson to us. Gandhari has earned herself a lifetime of tapas. Why? Because when she got married to Dhritarashtra, Dhritarashtra could not see. So she took it upon herself to tie a patti on her eyes so she would also not see and be with him in that dharma. Through years of that tapas, when you accumulate any kind of spiritual tapas, you earn something called Vak Siddhi. What does tapas do to you? Formula is you become Shuddham. There is cleansing that happens from within. That's what tapas does to us. It cleans our minds and our bodies. Shuddhi leads to Siddhi. Shuddhi will make the tongue powerful.
Penance leads to purity. Purity leads to power.
Yes, beautifully put. So when Shuddhi leads to Siddhi, what you say will come true. But what happens? It's like an account. You just withdrew a whole lifetime's worth of savings on that curse. So that is why elders always say, don't curse when you are in sadhana. Don't utter something casually negative about someone. Don't wish ill. Because if it is destined for them, for somebody, for whatever reason, it will happen anyway. But you don't need to waste your tapas on them. Because what you have accumulated for yourself will go for someone else, for something that it need not. That's exactly what he says to Gandhari. He says, this is what's going to happen to you now. You've lost your tapas on this, but I'll go. After this, Krishna goes to Dwaraka, and there he watches how his clan, which is the Yadu Vamsham, they all start bickering amongst each other because that was also part and extension of Gandhari's curse, and it was also written for them that the rest of his clan would die bickering. And there are sub-stories within this, but basically Krishna watches that dynasty also slowly crumble. And he goes into a forest which is in Dwaraka. You can still see it till date. And when he goes there, he's sitting at the base of a tree one fine day with his foot outstretched. That foot is standing out. It is Narayana's Pada Padmam. It is that lotus foot of the Lord that is sustaining the entire universe. So it's a very beautiful, it's a very attractive foot. A hunter sees this dark foot and thinks that it's a deer's ear. So he takes a poisoned arrow, he fastens it and he shoots it. That poisoned arrow hits the tip of Krishna, and slowly that poison spreads and Krishna goes back to Shashvata Goloka from where he came. Prior to this, he instructed Balarama to go. Krishna Avataram Rahasyam, Rama Avataram Rahasyam. Before they go, they sent back Adisesha. Same Adisesha who came as Balarama, Balarama becomes a white snake and slithers into the ocean. Whereas in the case of Lakshmana Swami, also you see that he goes before Rama because the bed must be ready before the Lord comes back to recline. So this is effectively the last 36 years post the war. He goes into solitude. He goes into just witnessing and observing how each being is meeting their final point. And finally, he just allows himself to go because what he came for has been fulfilled. It has been fulfilled through his story, starting from his arrival to his spending all of those years with the gopis. It has been fulfilled by giving them what they seeked. It is fulfilled by all the Rakshasas who he killed, who also went back inside him. Jaya and Vijaya he released. He crossed over, set up the war of the era, cleaned that chapter, cleaned that entire horizon, and gave us the most phenomenal verse and said 18 chapters, 700 shlokas. This is all you need for life. Take it. Then said, what more is there now? This is what I've come for. Take it and go.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Any signing off notes? Vinay Varanasi.
The world of Krishna, the world we never have to exit. And that's my invitation to anybody who's watching this. Krishna sadhana does not require you to know, not know. You can be anything. You can be confused. You can be curious. You can be annoyed. You can be happy. You can be anything. Directed towards Krishna, your life will change. Janmashtami is an opportunity. Janmashtami marks the beginning of that time when you can open your heart to him and he'll come straight and land in. So the only thing I want to say in parting is allow yourself to be soaked in Radha and Krishna. They will take you to wherever you are meant to be, whoever your Ishtadevata is. They will find you and they will place you. And if it is them, then you've already reached.
Radhe
That's
Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Lots of love. Thank you for another iconic episode, Vinay Varanasi.